All right, guys. I apologize. I wasn't able to go live last night. I just wanted to get ready to prepare myself for Ramadan. You know, the Ramadan Reset, as I like to call it. First and foremost, I want to congratulate everybody who has made it to Ramadan, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with like the best Ramadan that we need in order for that to carry us into the next half of the year, in order for us to get done what we want to get done in terms of making hijrah, and in terms of executing the moves that we want to make in terms of leaving, you know, because one thing about Ramadan that we must say is that um, there's the deeper meanings of Ramadan. And although these deeper meanings are often overlooked, we kind of have to look at it, and we kind of have to grab them by the horn, because I'm reading a book right now. I had to change my reading selection for Ramadan. I had to put time out on one book that I was reading. Maybe maybe I'll still read it during Ramadan, but I wanted to read books that were more I wanted to read books that were more um like, I guess you can say more, not more historical, so to say, but more uh personal, more personal books. That's what I wanted to do. So there's one book that I was reading. Um there's one book that I'm reading right now, and it's saying like just some very practical things that, I think that the majority of us guys understand, but of course the majority of modern women don't understand, because of the simple fact that attention is their number one, numero uno, um substance of choice. And the thing is, when you read these kind of things, they go completely against what is happening in what is happening in modern society. Like, it it goes against it basically goes against the grain. That's what happens. It goes against the grain. um Hold on just a minute. I want to see something. Give me a minute. All right. So what I want to say is that what I want to say is that in this book, there's something that in this book there's something that steps out, that stuck out already. You know, it says, "Do not covet, do not covet fame. Barely fame is a tomb. Be alone among people. Do not seek to get hold of some important position." The thing is that that in itself is kind of like that in itself is kind of telling, because when we look at this society today, when we look at Western society, the modern women only wants a man of status, right? And so when you look at it, um, that man will hopefully that man is understandable enough to understand that um, she wouldn't be with him if he didn't have that status. She wouldn't be with him if he had that title. You know, if he didn't have like a million followers or a million plus followers on uh TikTok or Instagram or whatever your selected source of social media is. She would not even be bothered with that man, you know. uh so I'm of the belief that you should work and stack and just do it quietly, like win in silence, basically. That's the way I look at it. No, I don't believe that you should be just this random guy who just sits down and does absolutely nothing. I no, I don't rock with that at all, you know. So what I'm saying is that you should just be low key with your endeavors, you know. Um another another thing that was said that was very very telling was um it says, "Speak little, eat and sleep still less. Seek solitude, eat only halal." And again, it just kind of goes back to what I was saying about the monk mode thing, is that, you know, it's in us. You know, like that's the thing. It's in us to do this. It's in us to be like loners, right? Um it's just a matter of how much do you how much how much of a threshold do you have in terms of uh being alone, you know. A lot of people, to be honest, a lot of people can't really be alone, or they can't take being alone, right? um but we have to understand something. Let's say hypothetically speaking, um you have all the access to modern women and things like that. um the thing is, technically you're still alone, because if it wasn't for if it wasn't for if it wasn't for, like, let's just say, if it wasn't for like your position, like let's say if you have a high position, if it wasn't for your high position, if it wasn't for like a lot of money, you know what I mean, if it wasn't for your car and things like that, and these kind of factors, then you would be alone anyway, because unfortunately in the Western society, and all and they can say that they're not attracted to that, but they are, you know what I mean, like it's just a reality. Like the reality is there most 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 women are not going to bat eye at you if you are if you don't fit the certain criteria which they think you should fit. And that criteria is basically six figures, um six um six figures, 6 feet, and the other thing, your member being 6 inches. So with that being said, um if you have that, then yeah, no, it's gonna happen. But if that leaves you, then guess what, you're back being alone again. That's how you know that these people are just around you just for the simple fact that you have these kind of things, you know. That's what happens, you know. um so I want to read something else, and show like how important these things are to us, you know. So in this book, they said, leave behind all desires but the most necessary. It may be that the desire for the earthly will take precedence in you. This desire will destroy your religion and your faith. So, I mean, this is pretty self explanatory when you look at it. Because, as men, we do have an innate desire for some type of companionship. And for the most part, if we have like kind of like um, a sound, like, I don't want to say intellect, but just kind of like a sound disposition, then we probably do have a desire to want to be married, right? We probably do have a sound desire of wanting to be married. We probably do have a sound desire of wanting, as you say, like wanting wanting to cohabit with females, wanting to I'll try to keep it politically correct, wanting to mate with females. Like, that's probably a desire that we have. You know what I mean? Like we have that desire. It's embedded in us. But I think the probably the most necessary desire, although we can live without it, would probably be the marriage desire. You know what I mean? So with that being said, um, if we did, like, I hate to like say this as well, if we've done if we did what the modern Muslim woman did here in the West, and just what the modern woman did in the West, then um it would probably destroy our religion and faith. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of these like Western women will say that they believe in God and things like that, um and they'll be born again, this, that, and the other, but they'll be doing that after the fact that they've done so many things. They've done so many things that are pretty much that you can come back from, but it's always going to be in the back of the mind if they get in a relationship like, yo, she was really out here like that. If they do find a guy who's going to say, okay, why not? But chances are, that guy, the guys before him already left their imprint on her. So there's really nothing you can really do. Like, that's the thing. There's pretty much nothing you can do to change that. You know, um, Pretty much most of the time, um, they the impact was left by those other guys, and there's nothing you can do about that. Um, we just have to look at, for example, Sierra and Russell Wilson, Will and Jada. The impact was already left on them. So even when they, you know, try to do it the right way, it's still not good enough. You know what I mean? It's still not gonna work. You understand? That's the thing. It's already like, because the thing is this: rather than like get married or do it the right way, most modern women, chase the thrill. So after they chase the thrill and it's time to settle down, the guy they settle down with is completely opposite of the thrill. And so, the thrill left so many imprints on her that, there's really nothing you can really do. That's the thing. There's nothing that can be done. Now, so another thing that was said is do not laugh too much. Uh Also, something that was said was insult no one, uh and do not decorate your exterior, because you're sprucing oneself up. It's a sign of one's internal poverty. So when you hear this, when the manuscript talking points, like the passport broke talking points, they're not insulting anybody, they're just telling what they see. They're just showing you like what's really going on out here. If it wasn't going on out here, then we probably wouldn't have no talking points. It's not like us to just make things up. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I have known guys to make things up is if they want a clout, and if they were pandering to women, and if they were simping and pandering to women. That's how I know that they okay, these guys are just making things up right now. You know what I mean? But like when we talk about what modern women are doing out here and things like that, it's not like making something up. It's actually witnessing it, firsthand. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And you may ask, okay, well, why don't men put a stop to it and things like that? Do you understand how many rights that they have? Do you understand how many rights that have they have been given? Do you understand that they can actually accuse you of something, and that accusation will be held against you until you are innocent? You'll be guilty until proven innocent. And so it says in this book about decorating the exterior. I mean, let's look at that. Um, and do not decorate your exterior because sprucing oneself up is a sign of one's internal poverty. So when we look at when we look at, for example, women who want to get the BBLs, when we look at women who wear fake hair, when we look at women who wear the fake lashes, when we look at women who do all of these things, they do all of these things. Like, um, I hate to say it, but they don't really offer anything else. They don't really offer, I guess, those internal tangibles that maybe like men look for, because the argument, this is the argument, and this is the this is what they say, this is what most of them say. They usually say this, and they think that, for example, that, oh, this is all we look for, because we're visual. you know just because we're visual, they think this is all we look for. But the argument is that, oh, men, all they care about is looks, this, that, and the other, when in reality we want something tangible. We want something that is going to get us, what I mean, like, inspire us. And I hate to say it, but looks are not just going to be inspiring. It takes more than looks to inspire. It takes more than looks to motivate, things like that. There's other tangible things that we need as men that they think that we don't need. Hence why they just continue to do what they're doing. It also says, do not argue. It also says, ask alms of no one. Do not request the service of others for yourself. Rather, you yourself serve the sheikhs. Um, And I agree with that. If you have a wise teacher that put you on to some things, then yeah, you should pay homage to him. You should give him things, because that teacher may have like saved you the mistakes of, like, may have saved you like two or three mistakes, right? Um, Now in terms of arguing, which is why I don't have women on my, usually I don't have women on my panel, whoever, but I will let people come up on the panel. Like, whoever wants to come up on the panel, be my guest. You're allowed to come up on the panel. But I don't have women on the panel because, like, like, modern women just simply like to argue. They don't want to reach a solution. When you look at all of these, like, for example, when you look at, for example, just pearly things, when they have their panel, they don't reach solutions. That's the thing. They never reach solutions on their panel. You know, when you look at Fresh and Fit, they never reach solutions with these women on their panel. When you look at the Whatever podcast, which I got put onto not too long ago, they never reach solutions. It's like women have been women have been told by other women, and women have been told by the men who think they're going to get access to these women by telling them, that they can do no wrong and that what they're doing is not wrong. And so what I'm saying is that no matter what, it just is going to be a revolving door. It's I hate to say it, but it's just that's just what it is, you know? It's just I mean, so there's no point in arguing with them, although you have the facts. Okay, you have the facts, you have the statistics, you have everything, you have the receipts and everything like that. They still are not going to accept that. So why argue, right? Okay, so um do not it says in this book, do not be tempted by the earthly world and its inhabitants. And that's why I'm saying about like the whole the you know this sector of passport bros is way deeper, because like it's not just about like getting away and getting a woman. It's not just about that. It's due to the fact that the society at large is not going to, like, the thing is about Western society at large is crazy. You know what I mean? And so economically speaking, yes, it's at the height. This place is at the height. But morally speaking, heck no. Why not take the economics of this society and bring it to another society where the moral things are still intact, and where the moral things will stay intact, because that society is not playing, is not going to play those games. That's the thing. Like, I really don't understand why they think that we're actually leaving here, that we're actually just leaving here just for a wife. Like, come on now. That would be ridiculous if we would just go somewhere just for a wife. There's difference there's different statuses at play. I'm not going to sit here and say that nobody can become a millionaire here. You can do what you want, okay? It's all in you. You can become whatever you want. That's my opinion. Okay? It's just the workload to do that is unbelievable. There is no shortcuts. You know what I mean? The workload to do that is very, 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 very crazy. So this is why you can go somewhere else and you can have the same work ethic and you can still get more and win at the end, you know, especially if you go to a place that's developing. If you're going to a place that's developing, you're in a good position, because that place is going to need people like you to help it develop. And if you're just adding to that country, then you're doing a good thing. So that's another reason why the passport bros is something that is a thing. Um, let me see. Now this is pretty heavy and many people don't agree with this, but I think there's a deeper meaning to it. Um, there's a deeper meaning to it. Um, and we have to keep in mind that these people who wrote this book were living in a different time, but the lessons that can be given can transition to this time. In this book, it says it's essential that your actions be sincere, your prayers be full of fear before God, your dress decrepit, in that poverty be your companion, Muslim law your sustenance, the mosque your home, uh, the Most High Lord God your interlocutor. Now, I want to touch on that poverty thing. Um, I think in terms of that, what they probably mean is that you don't show off your riches, that you don't openly show off your riches, that maybe, and maybe they're trying to tell us something that, you know, rather than show off your riches, rather than try to attract women through material items, which we know they are all attracted to, right? Um, go ahead and appear like you have nothing in front of the people, and that's going to actually work in your favor, you know. Hold on. Okay. So this is very important, that what I'm about to read. Do not think of tomorrow's food, for with the beginning of the new day, the Most High will send you what has been allotted to you. But this doesn't mean that one must sit in anticipation of the time when God will send nourishment. It is necessary that one work so that the heavens might send what has been allotted. And no matter how hard you try, more than what you have been allotted, you should not receive. No one will eat your portion, no one will take it away. The Most High has determined in eternity the stores of sustenance such that one person would not be able to consume the share of another. One must not become friends, says Giz Duvani, with those who demonstrate the following five attributes. I'm going to read those five attributes, but I want to touch on what was said before. We don't know what our which one call is going to be. You know, we don't know what our substance is going to be, but we still have to work towards it in order for us to do the things that we want to do. You know, we still have to work towards it, but we don't know what it's going to be, you know. So we know that it's written and it's allotted to us, but we don't know what it's going to be though. So our substance, you know, if we just put a little bit of effort into it, if we just put a little bit of like workload into it, then our substance could very well be um more than we imagine, and that more than we imagine can help finance what it is that we want to do. And ultimately what we want to do, at least I want to do, and that I'm planning to do, inshallah, is leave the West. You know, what I when I say leave the West, what I mean by that is leave it for the majority of the year, but maybe come back and visit maybe once a year, you know, but leave it for the majority of the year. Okay. That's what I mean by that. That's what I mean. This is what I mean. Okay. So we have to work. And that's the thing that I think needs to be said. I don't knock anybody who gets out a dollar, but of course, um, you know, you'll get knocked if you're like a Uber driver, DoorDash deliverer, things like that. But as long as that finances what it is that you want to do, then you know that shouldn't be an issue. I know dudes who, for example, I know dudes who actually drove taxis in New York. People were making fun of them and stuff like that, making fun of them living in a cramped apartment together, right? Little did they know those dudes were building apartments in St. Lucia with the with the with the income that came from driving a taxi. So the thing is that, you know, I'm gonna just put it like this: cry now and laugh later. And you're not even needing to cry because hey, you're working towards something. Yeah, people are gonna maybe ridicule you because you're doing this kind of work, but if you have an idea of what it is that you're after, then those people shouldn't matter whatsoever. Okay. Now, this next part of the book is very, very this thing is pretty heavy, what I'm about to say. And again, like when I read these books and when I make these suggestions of like these books, it's because there's a reason behind it. There's something behind these books that relate to us and also relate to the modern women in which we refuse to deal with, right? And many people will say, come at me for different reasons, but um you know the modern woman has been so like brainwashed and so like consumed that they think what they're doing is right and they don't think what they're doing is wrong. They don't just sit still and realize that, oh, maybe we're not doing the right thing. So um I'm going to read this right now. One must not become friends, says Giz Duvani, with those who demonstrate the following five attributes: not considering aestheticism as wealth, considering an ordinary position as lowly, holding out ignorance as knowledge, not subjecting their secret and public affairs. So when you look at these kind of points and you realize that the modern woman considers a truck driver not good enough, although like a truck driver pulls in way well above average money. If you have a fleet of trucks, you're making well over six figures. If you have a fleet of trucks, you're making you're making well over six figures for sure. You know, that's that's a guarantee. Okay. However, when it comes to the modern woman, that's still not good enough. You know, it's still the fact that you don't have that title of like social media influencer. You don't have that title of rapper. You don't have that title. Okay. Let's be honest. If you, for example, right? If you, for example, are a software engineer, right? If you're a software engineer, it's still it's still not good enough. Okay. They still don't like that. It's the title. That's what it is. It's the title. Okay. They don't like, I mean, as sad as it sounds, it's just like, for example, I think, yeah, I know longshoremen make money. Okay. Longshoremen, they make money. Okay. They make a lot of money. If you're a longshoreman, you can make some money. Okay. Um, the problem uh, is that it's the title that women are not going to be like really appealing. Uh, women are not going to really appeal to you. with a title like longshoreman, with the title like truck driver, with the title like logistics. They look down on the common man. They look down on the construction worker. They look down on those kind of people. That's why this considering an ordinary position is lowly, you know. And modern women, we know they hold out ignorance as knowledge. We know they say things that like body count doesn't matter. We know they say things that like, if I'm a single mother, and if I'm a single mother times on over, then I still don't have to settle. I'm still entitled to um that top tier kind of guy. Um and then we also know that we also know that um women who are pushing maybe 250 pounds, 300 pounds say, yeah, I'm not, I don't want a big guy. I don't want a fat guy. You know, we understand that to be the case, right? And then when they say not subjecting their secret and public affairs, um, actually, there's more to it. Hold on. Not subjecting their secret and public affairs to account. So what that basically means is holding their actions, holding themselves accountable for their actions, which they never do. They never do. They never fully hold themselves accountable. And if they do try to hold themselves accountable, they always put a little spin on it. Like they always put a little twist on it. And it makes you understand that, like, okay, well, they still haven't learned the lesson. They're still trying to find someone else to blame for what they decided to do. You know what I mean? And so another thing, is not fearing the next life. And I mean, let's be honest. What is the slogan that they always say here? You only have one life to live. Live it up. You know how they make that slogan all the time? You know? So when we have these kind of things, right? When we have these kind of situations, we have to understand that, you know, um um we have to understand that when we have these kind of like situations that we're in, right? You look at like those street interviews and what they do on the street, and women literally do whatever they feel the desire to do. They don't fear the consequences that come with the things that they decide to do. Okay. um and unfortunately the men under their guise and under their spells do what they think those women want to see as well. It's unfortunate, but you can't help everybody, right? Who doesn't want to be helped. So what is said also, and I'll probably do some live reactions when I reach an hour in recording, so in another 20 minutes. But as I'm reading this book, this is like the first time that I'm actually reading it. And I just figure, okay, why not read it on live, and maybe someone else can benefit from it as well. So it says human life, says Hazrat Gizduvani, is too temporal and illusory for us to become attached to it. Your life is between the inward and the outward breath, between light and darkness. This is why you must strive toward God alone with every br- uh, breath you take. Um, so when you look at it, we never know when we're gonna go. That's the thing. We never know. We never really know when we're gonna go. You know. So unfortunately, when it comes to like life in general, we just have to work our hardest, do what we need to do. But when you look at women, modern women, they actually think that I I I don't know. Maybe they think that they're allowed to do um they're allowed to do certain things, and that there's no consequences for doing those certain things, and that they're going to live at the end of the tunnel, they're still going to be able to live a regular life after doing those things. Like, for example, you have corn stars who think that after 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 their corn career, that they can just, like, everything is back to normal. Everything is everything is okay. I can settle down. I can be a housewife. I can do that. Like, they think that that's the case. But the reality is that's not the case at all. I'm sorry to say it, but it's not the case. And it never will be the case. It never will be the case. You know. So um I think they don't think about these things. They don't think about these kind of factors. So now, let me see. So um when it comes to, like, this path, this path um that we're on, I mean, to be like a passport bro, right? To do these kind of things, um it's a thorny and difficult path. um and the thing is about this path is that you have to understand something. You have to do the research on the country. Number one, you have to do the red tape. Get the red tape of the country, meaning like your visa and things like that. You have to know the laws of the country in which you're going to. You have to get accommodation in that country. You have to get used to a different diet in that country. Although that most countries as of right now have, like, Western style food. You know what I mean? Like, that's normal. You can go to a country, they're gonna have Western style food, right? That's usually the norm. So this, like, it's not an easy path though. It's not easy. Salute, salute, salute from the clouds. So it says in this book, this path demands that a person apply himself constantly, every minute and every day. For those who do not have the will to do so, the path becomes an insurmountable obstacle. Alhamdulillah. When our Sheikh Ibrahim was asked how many murids he had, he said, I do not know. Our teachers forbid us from denying permission to anyone seeking to be initiated, and we deny no one, but we neither make nor keep lists of any kind. A person is initiated, receives a task from us, and after that might never return again to the Hanaka, in which case we do not guide him along the path. From the fact that this person was not able to bear the training, we do not suffer harm, nor does God. The only harm is to the person himself who displays his weakness of character and of will. So, with that being said, I could easily decide, like, hey, why not just give up? Why not just settle? Why just play the why not just play the modern women's games? Why not just play the Western games? I could do that. I can just simply decide, like, hey, it's not, you know, it's like going overseas, um, doing those kind of things, building a new life over there, um, is is basically not worth the squeeze. I can just stay here and just live it up here. But I have decided not to do that. You know, you can easily, for example, right? You can easily um engage with what's available here. It's available. I mean, everything is pretty much transaction these days. So for the right amount of money, the access is there for you to enjoy. But the more difficult things is the solitude. The more difficult things is being reclusive. The more difficult thing is saying, nah, I'm good on these modern women. You know, the more difficult thing is saying, nah, I'm not going to simp to them. The more difficult thing is to say, nah, I'm not going to pander to them in order for me to get attention, this, that, and the other. These are the more difficult things to do, but I have chosen to do them for the simple fact that it's a deeper meaning. It's about building character, you know. Hold on. Okay. And so the thing is about having this is that the goal is to get rid of the animal tendencies which the West will put in you, like aggressions, pettiness, and just like, just being foul, right? And it says in the Quran al Kareem, man will receive only what he has earned. So we have to earn our hijra. We have to earn our exit out of this place. Okay. Now, this was also said, sanct, saints, sanctity and subservience are attained only by the man who does not give his soul power over himself. And so that's what unfortunately modern women have done. So that they've given their lowly souls power over themselves, because if they didn't, they would have no problem with serving a husband. They would have no problem with serving a household. They would have no problem in doing these things. These things would be like second nature to them. But you ask a woman to cook, uh, she's gonna say, "You got hands, you got feet. Go make yourself something." You ask her to clean, she's gonna say, "You got hands, you got feet. Go ahead and clean it up." You ask her to, "Hey, you mind doing my laundry while I make these plays, these money plays?" She's gonna say the same thing. You got hands, you got feet. Um, you can go. You can go basically do your own laundry. That's what happens. This is basically how it works. This is basically how the modern woman thinks. So, with that being said, what can you really do about it? Okay, now this is another heavy one too. And then I think I'll go ahead and go to the second half of the live stream and go over like why this has to be a reset for us. So, it was also said that it was also said um that how many filthy obstructions must been cleansed from the soul, how many temptations must be overcome, taming one's own ego, which is accustomed to following whims in order to reach the heart and polish it to the scene. For only in the pure heart God can take up residence. Um, Sheikh Bahuddin Naqshband, may his grave be holy, told this story. And I'll read this story and then go back to what I was saying. Still at the beginning of my search on the path of mystical knowledge, I met a man from among the lovers of Allah. He was one of the true Sufis. He said to me, "You appear to be one of the zealots." I responded, "I hope that I shall become a true zealot, thanks to a glance of mercy from the lovers of God. He asked, "How do you pass your time?" I said, "If I find some food, I thank God. If if not, I am patient." He smiled and said, "That is not difficult. The important thing is to place labors upon the soul. This is how it is done. If you have no food for an entire week, do not allow your soul to grumble, but let it be at peace." I came near to him and asked his help. He commanded me to practice the suppression and restraint of my desires, care for the weak, powerless, and crippled, with whom other people do not trouble themselves, noting in particular that I should display submissiveness, obedience, and self abasement. I began to fulfill his command and proceeded as the holy saint had ordered over the course of many days. After that, he commanded me to render service to all the animals, to heal them of their various wounds and sores, with the utmost effort and obligingness. I burdened myself with this labor and did all that he had ordered me to do. And if a dog came across my path, I would stop so it should pass first, not wishing to overtake it. Thus did 6 years pass. Then he ordered me to render service unto the dogs of the nearest neighborhood and to request help from the animals. He said, "You will lower yourself to the state of a dog. In serving dogs, you will attain happiness and be deserving of a great reward." I spared nothing in fulfilling this task, obeying his command and desiring to attain his joyful prediction. Once meeting a dog on my way, I suddenly fell into the most profound mystical state. I stopped before the dog and was seized by powerful tears. Right there, the dog too fell onto his back and raised his four legs to the sky. I heard his pitiful sighs and mourning for morning. I raised my hands in humility and obedience and said, Amen. And the dog grew quiet and raised itself to its paws. On one of those same days, wandering on the outskirts of Bukhara, I found a chameleon, immersed with all its being in contemplation of the sun's beauty. I looked with wondering, I looked with wonder at the chameleon, and the passionate desire to ask it to show me mercy and compassion took hold of my soul. The chameleon still remained in place. I stood up before it in a posture of the fullest respect and civility and raised my hands. The, the chameleon came out of its immersion in considering the sun's beauty and fell on its back, turning to the sky, and I said, Amen. After this, the man commanded me to practice clearing the roads and refuse and rubbish. For 6 long years, I demonstrated stubbornness and perseverance in this difficult work. No one ever saw the sleeves or hem of my shirt free from the dust and dirt of the road. All this, all this, and the other tasks my instructor ordered me to fulfill, I fulfilled conscientiously, sincerely, and without murmur. For from it all, I discover a beneficial influence on my soul, and unprecedented improvement in my mystical states. The path of the seeker is the path of perfecting the soul, which is impossible without taming and re educating his self loving nafs. The nafs is nourished by earthly and animal passions, driven by desires of man, forgets about God. His soul ceases to be capable of compassion, and even more place inside it is given over to the transient earthly passions, which he is not able to satisfy. Even having obtained his goal, man is disappointed. Then and therefore his nafs is insatiable. It supplants the divine principle in him, fills the soul with base passions, and in pursuit of satisfying these, he wastes his life, which invariably ends for him in the profoundest disillusion. The seeker re-educates his nafs, forcing it to be docile, obedient, quiet, and meek. But how much sweat must pour, how much suffering must be endured, so that one day the nafs might acknowledge that it is obedient to its master. So this is pretty heavy in the sense that this is what we see with modern women. I mean, I'm of the belief that this is me like completely, and maybe this is a unpopular opinion. Um, but me me personally, I'm of the belief that basically modern women don't like really think about God. Like modern women don't really like contemplate on God. Modern women think that like, okay, well, my whole purpose is just to be self-serving. So the hell to the damage it does, the hell to um the what anybody else feels like, and what like men feel like, who are the leaders of the world and the leaders that God put on the earth. The hell to that. I'm It's just about me. It's just about get. It's just about eat. It's just about smash. So like in becoming like a passport bro in this sector, and don't get me wrong, there's still some like passport pookies who go abroad for, you know, some tail. But really what we're doing in essence is we're like purifying ourselves of this like, I guess you can say, this toxicness that you will gain being here. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and basically what, you know, basically what was said in that book, you know, is based, like, I'm going to show you the reflection of that right now, you know, about how, like, in essence, how women follow their base desires, and they just that they it's just not going to end well for them, but they don't care because they've been blinded too much. But without further ado, let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, let me see. Okay. So this was given to my attention, and again, it just goes to show how how like lack of respect, how lack of contempt the modern really woman has for, like, even their elders. Okay, because they've been told they were right, they've been told certain things that they do this. But let's look.
So, this was supposed to be another meeting.
But we opened a mirror of work instead. All our work,
You wrote it. And because of the letters, people spell things wrong in the super chats, okay? Because they don't. You only get so many characters, so you're kind of
Facts.
making out what they say.
Facts.
But anyways,
You should have had us clock you for that. You know, like start the clock, somebody.
yeah. Anyway, so what did I get wrong?
I didn't hear astrology signs in there.
She said that.
Oh,
She
did
said
Oh, did she?
Anything? What is anything? Okay. Go ahead.
Can we add one?
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Add.
The one we have to add is broken men, because women are broken too, but it's more mainly
I'm
put on
sorry.
broken men.
This is
Okay, so you see how she again reflects it back on the men. She kind of slips in women are broken too, but she then again puts it back on the men, right? Which goes to show you that she does not want to take any kind of look at her soul to show that what to show basically she doesn't want to take a look at her soul to show what caused these broken men. Okay, what was the leading force that caused these broken men, and who was at the helm of that force that caused these broken men? But let's continue.
calling you out.
I'm sorry. Women are also broken, but see, it took, like you said, it took this panel to show you that you actually were broken.
And
yourself,
and
you
I
know what I mean?
and I just want to say, women say men are F boys, but how do you know he's a F boy if you didn't let him F?
Yes.
So does that
Okay, and don't mind Chameleon Melanie King. You know, we know she plays both sides of the fence. So don't mind her. You know.
make you a F girl? Does it make you easy? Does it make you for the street? You don't want a man to say the man's dick is too small, but the women.
The
But you
smell,
can
could we
control how
talk
much
about,
you eat.
because we talk about the pH, we talk about the smell, and some of that is from a genetic perspective as well. But like the actual oil on the inside of it, like it's a lot different as well. So like if it doesn't go right, it doesn't all have to do with his member, you know. But to talk about that and have young boys listening to that,
Sometimes maybe because
it's damaging.
Maybe that's what it is. Because the women always say that the man's dick is too small, but the women never say my fanny's too big.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna be honest, and you know, I'm gonna try to keep this PG. You know, because during Ramadan, I'm trying to watch my mouth as well. But one thing that these women will say about, like, that they need something, like, for example, 8-inch. They need a 1/2 inch sub, or they need an 8-inch sub. Sometimes in certain cases, they'll say they need a foot long sub. What they're not telling you, though, is that they're not telling you how their member is getting ransacked by different subs. And they're also not telling you that while it's not being ransacked by different subs, they're putting artificial subs inside of it in order to get that pleasure. So even if you did have that 6-inch sub, it still wouldn't matter because their member has been like thrashed. That's what they don't tell you. But let's continue.
No, but
that's
this we go
real.
with the body. It's the body
That's real.
positivity. They will claim the same body positivity. I can be 500 pounds.
Okay, I don't even want to hear her. She's a chameleon.
I'll put it in. Is it in there?
Yeah.
I have a really great addition to this list.
She's
Thank you to Bo's Nuts. My ex
Bo's Nuts.
my ex was a narcissist. Yeah, I'm gonna
No,
add
you just
that.
fell for that.
Yo,
You
add
see the red
Pearl.
flag.
You heard that, right? I want you to keep something in mind. A woman, I hate to say it, but a woman does not care about what a man feels or his emotions. You hear how like she just like calmly just brushed that aside. She said, "Nah, you just fell for that." And the ex really could have been a narcissist. You know what I mean? Like they really could have had those kind of traits. But instead they say, "Nah, you you just fell for that." They don't care about anybody's plight.
My ex was a narcissist. Yeah, I'm gonna
No,
add
you just
that.
fell for that.
Yo,
You see
add
the red
Pearl.
flag.
Pearl.
If all their
Pearl.
exes, okay, this is what I've come to conclude. I've
Pearl.
come to conclude this. Okay, wait. I need.
Let's see. Here we go.
I was with this guy for a year and this guy was genuinely abusive. Does that mean I cannot use the term that I had an abusive ex? Does that mean that I should diminish my sort of feelings because of that? Because genuinely I had to go through like victim support and things like that. I had to put things in place for my safety. So as a woman, do you think that I should not use that? Because I know you are laughing and joking and whatnot about like narcissism and this, that, the other. Obviously, I know there's only a small percentage
with millions of content
of men that are actually narcissistic. And I think people that ruin it is the women that throw these words out. Like, for example, women that lie about getting raped or women that lie about getting like sexually assaulted. They ruin it. Essay. They ruin it for the actual women that have been victim. And I know, again, I'm one of those people that believe in accountability. I genuinely believe that you should take accountability for the things that have happened to you and you should fix yourself. But I just don't think it's fair to say that you should diminish your own experience because other women want to throw out the words or the phrases. And
so while I kind of partly agree with that, I don't agree with I don't agree that there's equality in that, because of the simple fact that like a man is supposed to diminish his experience, diminish what he been through, diminish his like tragedy that he went through when the wife gave him a divorce and when the wife got caught cheating and she still divorced him for getting caught cheating. And she being the one that got caught cheating, right? And so when you look at that, when you look at this dynamic, I can't I can partly agree with that. I can there's a part of me that says, okay, I agree with it. But then there's another part of me that says if a man was in that same scenario, it wouldn't be like that. Nobody would give a crap. Nobody would care. So let's continue.
again, it sort of brings it down to yourself.
Thank you.
It sort of just brings it down to the fact that it makes you feel a bit worse about it, sort of thing. Because again, I've been through things, and again, I can say maybe I've not been the perfect person. Maybe some of the things I've done are my fault, but that does not diminish my experience of the things that I have had happen to me.
Can I just say?
Yeah, no, of
From a
course.
woman I'm going to speak on a woman that's been abused. Right, in my day, you call the police, nothing happened. In your
Yeah.
day, you got all the things out there. You got victim support. I never had it. So why are you staying in it? I've got no sympathy for people nowadays. I went through shit. So you went through an abusive relationship. You know what? I don't give a shit. If a man was going,
And let this be a lesson that, like, unfortunately, like, how can I say this without sounding crazy? Abusity is toxic. Like, abuse is toxic, right? And because it goes back to that book's point of women's lower passions, they're pretty much attracted to that, you know. If they tell you opposite, the thing is, what I've come to conclude is that women modern women here will tell you opposite of what they like, you know. Modern women here will tell you like the opposite of what it is that they want. Okay. For example, they'll say, you know, we want this, that, and the other. We want chivalry, this, and those kind of things. And then they'll turn around and they'll do the opposite, or they'll go after the opposite, right? Meanwhile, there's a whole, like, there's a whole guy there waiting who will do everything that they want, that they want from a guy, right? But yeah, but let's continue.
for a
I
relationship,
literally
the
got
women won't give a shit.
I got groomed from the
Listen,
age
right,
of 17
I can say
to
the
21
same
years
thing.
old
I can
by
say
a
the same
29-year-old
thing.
man.
I can say the same
You can
thing.
say the same
This
thing,
is
but the thing
I got a
is,
child out of it. You got a child?
no,
Have you got a child?
I'm 21.
What,
I
have you
don't
got
have
a
a child.
child?
No, I don't have a
I had a child
child.
at 18.
All
right?
right,
You
good
call
for you.
you call the police. If you
Good
call
for
the police,
you.
what happens to you?
Nothing.
So there's
Because
no
the police don't want to do
sympathy.
shit.
There
They
is
want
no
to take my man's phone
sympathy.
because my
As far
man's.
as I'm concerned, you're in an abusive relationship. The door's there.
How's it no
You can
sympathy
walk
though?
out.
How's it no
You
sympathy?
can walk.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that
out.
Well, that
you
seems like a new problem.
Nowadays, they've got everything there for you.
You can walk out, but do you
They've
not
got
understand?
everything
People
there
can
for
genuinely
you.
fucking manipulate you as somebody that's not grown up with the best
All right,
fucking.
then, so you
as
learn
somebody
from
that's
that.
no, I'm
No
learning,
excuse.
and again, I'm healing. I'm
That's what
learning.
they talk
but
about,
I'm saying, I know,
accountability.
and
You
again,
can say
I'm
you come
taking
from-
accountability.
All right, then.
But as somebody
Give me
that's
your
not
story.
grown up,
You were young, right?
as someone that's not grown up
You
with
were
the best role models, sorry, it's hard for you to just click
what were
on
your role models?
immediately.
What were your role models?
In what?
Right. No,
what
I'm
do you
going
mean
to
in
say, because
specific?
all I'm going to say is that you said you were young. I was young. You said you were abused. I was abused. You didn't call the police, right? Because in my day, I called the police and nothing happened because they were saying it was a domestic. Right. So we're here talking about stuff and you're going to go against everything everybody said and say,
I'm not going against everything.
No, but what you're saying
I'm
is
saying that
these things happen.
No. Okay, Pearl's
things
just
happen.
Pearl's just brought up a list of words that women should not use.
Nobody is saying that you
That
cannot.
And I will say that, like, with in terms of Pearl, like, I get it, like, this is a money grab and stuff like that, but don't make it too obvious, you know what I mean, that you're grabbing the money. But you know, when she says these certain type of things, it does become obvious that, like, she wants to grab the money. So she said women shouldn't be allowed to vote on one of her things. And I think that was just to get a response. But the granny is making some valid points because yeah, and even me, I've seen this play out firsthand where a woman will say like, "Oh, he's abusing me" and things like that, and the door is open to leave, but she still stays, and then people will still try to make like comments and stuff like that, like still try to say things like, "Oh, you know, she was manipulated, this, that, and the other," and you're like, well, um, if if she, if that was the case, yeah, if that was the case, then me personally, I would probably want to see like some kind of medical diagnostic or something, like some kind of medical things that shows that she has like a issue going on versus her just deciding to stay, which I think is usually the case. Most of them just decide to stay, you know.
Use
No,
those
but you
lists,
can
but
use the words.
don't stick on them.
No, I'm
Those
not
are
saying
words
stick
that
on them
women
again.
always use, and you've come up and you're using the same thing again.
To reiterate my point,
Go ahead.
I clearly said to you,
Yep.
I am a woman that believes in taking accountability.
Take
I'm a
it.
woman that's healing.
Mhm.
I am a 21-year-old girl. I'm not necessarily as matured as you lot, or I'm not necessarily as experienced as
You're
you lot.
not a girl. You're a grown woman. If you've had sex and you've had relationships, don't use the word girl because you will say, and I don't mean this, she didn't mean her. And be real. It's like, world now sees better. What I find a lot of to work on believe you and didn't want another mouth to feed and kicked you out in that situation. As a criticism to understand.
I appreciate what you just said, and I definitely do agree with it. I just think sometimes people can be a bit harsh in the way that they sort of say things.
Have you
I'm
sought
sorry
help?
for being so straightforward, but no, that's where I am. I'm not apologizing for
No,
being
no, you're
forward.
fine.
Have you sought
Absolutely
counseling?
Yeah, currently still.
How long have you been going?
About 2 months. I don't know.
Is it a male or female therapist?
Female.
Female.
And I just tend not to really like.
So let this be a lesson to you guys who are watching that a lot of these females are damaged goods. Okay, it is unfortunate that they're starting earlier and earlier. It's really unfortunate that they start earlier, but yeah, man, they're damaged. They're pretty damaged. So uh you know um there's really no love lost in you deciding to exit and you deciding not to deal with them. You know what I mean? There's nothing that you lose. As a matter of fact, I hate to say this, as a matter of fact, okay? As a matter of fact, and this is going to sound harsh, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose by following what's in the book in terms of um following those instructions, following those instructions with the modern woman. You have everything, like in following the instructions that book told you, about silence, about quiet, about things like that. You have nothing. Basically, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So um do that instead. you know so I want to go to another video real quick. Every day I get something. Every single day I get something.
By advertising on YouTube, I catch the eye of my ideal customers at the right time.
All right, bro, I'm out of here. I'll see you when I see you. All right, bro, be. Oh, it's this bitch.
Up there or something. Look, she couldn't make your birthday party. So
Connect based off of network.
Y'all would lose a friend if your friend told you she couldn't make your birthday party. Do you know how wild that is? Bro said he couldn't make it. He couldn't make it. We gonna catch up next or something.
Look, it was my birthday,
bro. To the bro.
Okay, and so here we go. Here we go. Like with what the book said. These modern women have egos. Like I'm gonna be honest. I can give a rat's butt about a birthday unless it's a significant figure in history's birthday. Then it's like, okay, I'll take a I'll straight out take a what I'll do is I'll straight out take a freaking day to like make a special dish in that figure's honor. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if it's Uthman Danfodio, then yeah, you darn right. I'm just gonna like be like, okay, let me just like take a take a dish, like go ahead and take time out and make a dish in order to honor him. But if it comes to someone else's birthday, especially a woman's birthday, I'm not going to be sweating that. But you hear her, oh, it's my birthday. Do you know how self-absorbed you have to be to feel that way? Well, let's continue.
Oh, do that even sound right, man?
No way. I don't play sleepovers. I don't play house. I don't do none of that. That's not my shit. I don't play those type of games. There's no way a man is sleeping up comfortably or even coming over talking about something. I want to chill. My house is not an entertainment system.
So here we go. You hear how? Yeah, there you have it, guys. It's amazing how that book plays out right in front of our very eyes, you know? It plays out right in front of our eyes, man. It plays out right in front of our eyes, seriously. Like everything that the book says, it like just pretty much plays out. Let's continue.
System, baby. That's not what we doing. You want to take me out, court me properly, date me properly, and I'm not a virgin.
I'm smiling, but it ain't funny.
Let me tell you, it's harder to get my pussy now than it was then. You should have hit it then.
Yeah, bro. You see how it is. Like, so as I said before, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose, but to follow this path. You know, like, because this is the path that I've been following for I've been following this for like some years now. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. I've been following this for some years now, but you hear it. You hear it though. You hear it in her voice. Let's continue.
When I was open and I was naive and I was ready for everything, and I didn't know my worth. But now here I am, and I'm a girl with depth, with substance, with cool. There's no way I'm even allowing a man to even know where I live at until he don't.
So did she say death or death? I couldn't. I really couldn't understand what she was saying. But I want you to like even look at the fact that she has red hair and what that tells you. You know what I mean? You guys have to look at all of these things, you know? You have to look at all of these like situations. Well, let's continue.
Done proved himself. You don't even get the address. You don't even get the address. And this is what I be talking about. There's
And this is what the modern man is left with, bro. Come on, man. It ain't manly. They're so masculine, man. Her testosterone probably more than mine's, bro. Cause to see another man. That's even worse, bro. It's nothing, man. I know a girl.
That ABM Ali shit.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, about 20.
Bro, you know what I'm saying?
You bold. So she drove my car to your house for real, bro?
All the way to Killeen, nigga.
Wow. Why would you do that? Why would you drive my car?
About twice so far.
Hold on, what?
Yeah, about twice.
She drove my car twice?
Yep. Shit, I don't know if you seen my phone in the Bluetooth shit. That ABM Ali shit. That's my shit.
Huh?
So I connected my phone to the Bluetooth and everything. That ABM Ali, that was on the Bluetooth. That was my shit.
Shit, that ain't nothing, man. I know a girl that was cheating on a dude. She used to bring his car with the baby in the car seat to see another man. That's even worse.
So I want you to keep something in mind. This couple, you would think that, okay, this couple, like on the look scale, they match each other. Like they match each other. You know what I mean? On the look scale, that they match each other. And he probably is the one providing all the resources or the majority of the resources in the relationship, right? However, the guy that was on the phone with him, he probably is select. He's probably a select male, and he's probably in a drought, and he's like, well, you know, I might as well hit something than not hit anything. Although that something is like she's probably out of that dude's league in terms of the looks, in terms of the looks like department, but he still didn't mind hitting it. While she is in hopes that, hey, you know, maybe this guy is going to take me serious. But really, the fact that she drove the resource provider's car over there to that guy lets you know that he's not taking her serious.
Worse, bro. It's no limit. It's no bounds of how far they could go with the cheating, dog. Trust me, that's light. What happens every day.
As for me, I've been single a pretty long time. Never thought it would be this long. I have to admit, when I got divorced a long time ago, I was a little arrogant. I was in my mid-30s, and I knew it was a good catch. Good woman, educated.
Oh my God. Okay, so again, the book told you. The book told you what they're showing themselves to be. The book showed you what they're showing themselves to be in terms of self-absorbed, in terms of thinking that they're really something that they're not. Okay? Me personally, as a man, I would never say those things about myself. I would never say like I'm a good person. I would never say I'm educated. I would never say that I'm a good catch. I would never say any of those things about myself because I know that I'm always going to be a work in progress until from the cradle until the grave. I understand that. Okay, you're never the finished product. But these women think that they can just show up and think that they're the finished product, and they're not even a product to begin with. That's the thing. Now, let's continue.
Who the hell cares?
Great career, amazing mom, and I was a great wife. Cook.
You see how self-absorbed they are.
Cook, clean, do all that. So I kind of was a little arrogant and thought, oh, it's no problem. I'm going to be married in 2 to 3 years. Well, it's been a long, long time. And honestly, not even gotten close. And so sometimes, you know, like a lot of women in my situation that I've talked to, that you ask yourself, well, when do you give up? When do you give up on finding the one? Or do you? As for me, I go back and forth. Sometimes I go, well, I just need to be with Mr. Right Now. Doesn't give me butterflies, but he's a good man. He's nice. He likes me. Don't have much in common, but he calls. So I talk to him. Or sometimes you've got the one that gives you butterflies, but you know he's unreliable and not dependable. He's broke.
So she's telling you, okay? The thing is, she is actually telling you right before your very eyes that she still will not settle for someone that is within her range, and she still wants a Pookie, even at her advanced age. She still wants a select man, a select Pookie, rather than someone who will take her on.
You got to take him out to dinner. We've all done that. Those are never sustaining long-term relationships. So the question is, do you compromise? Well, where I am right now today, I'm going to say no. I'm not going to compromise. I'm waiting. I'm going to stay optimistic. It gets hard staying optimistic this long, but I'm going to stay optimistic. Now, tomorrow, I don't know. Might settle. Just keeping it real.
With Miro, you can show your team.
Not just tell them.
Miro is a shared canvas on which your entire team.
Man, look, I'm gonna keep it real. So many young women need to hear this message because guess what? She lonely and she's 60 and she still looks great. I'm not gonna hold you. She looks great for 60. Y'all ain't even gonna look that good. Some of y'all point, man. You're gonna have to know what y'all think in the comments, though, man.
38-year-old. These
Listen,
ladies,
yo,
you know I love you to death, but y'all got to stop with this goofy ass cap of what he won't do, the next man will. As a 38-year-old eligible bachelorette, I could tell you right now, the next man probably won't. You get it worse.
So she's 38 years old. She reached her, she probably had a chance to lock someone down. Didn't take that chance. And now she's doing what every other woman is doing here.
From him, but something that I really want to discuss with y'all, and this is gonna catch me smoke, but you can't cancel reality. The playing field is not level. There are more good single women than there are good single men, and the reality is, which
Oh my God, did she just say that? Did she just say that? Did she just say that? Wow. I really can't believe that she found the audacity to come out of her mouth and say something like that. She said there were more good single women than there were good single men, when the study and statistics show that there are more single men than there are single women. Wow.
you won't do, the next actually will. There are good women with good pussy and good credit and good manners, thirsty as fuck to come scoop up a man who will go 50% on the bills and come home at night to play his little game. You feel me? You're so.
And another masculine woman, and I don't know where she thinks these women exist at, but they don't exist here.
worried about aesthetics and keeping up with the Joneses and what so-and-so did on fucking Instagram. You feel like your man ain't putting on for you. Let me tell you something. A good man is a man who comes home every night. It's a man who listens and communicates to you. It's a man who doesn't cheat. It's a man who pays bills and shows up for the children and fixes things where he can. That's a damn good fucking man. And the same way that you want to be loved, he wants to be loved too.
Nah, the thing is we don't want to be loved in the same way. We just want, like, for example, for me personally, if I'm in monk mode and I lock myself in the room and I'm doing everything I need to do in the computer and things like that on the computer, just bring me some coffee or just bring me some tea, bring me some food, and I'm good. I'm good. I'm good with that. If I want to court you to some action, just make yourself available. When it's time to pray, just pray. Reading Quran, just read with me. Remembering God, just remember with me. That's all I ask. If you have a suggestion, just make the suggestion in a mild manner way. That's all I ask. Don't look for conflict. That's all I ask. So no, we don't love in the same way. We're not looking for love in the same way.
Everybody is a fucking prize, not just you. Stop expecting these men to jump through fucking hoops to earn your love, but you're asking for a love that you can't even fucking reciprocate. You got to be willing to give what you want to fucking get in order for that shit to fucking last. So if you got a good man, start pouring into him and stop dangling greener pastures in front of his face. Because if you had it like that, you'd have it like that. You feel?
All right, guys, my big.
So she's masculine. You know, she's very masculine, oozing with masculinity. No guy, only a weak man will deal with her, you know, with her masculine attitude. I certainly wouldn't deal with her. I don't care if the message is correct, which part of the message is correct. But yes, no, yes, but no. Thanks, but no thanks. Okay? That's the thing. Thanks, but no thanks. And I want to say something too. A man doesn't mind serving his wife. Hell, providing for a woman is a form of service. That's the thing. If you set it up in a way that she's a stay-at-home wife, you're doing a service to her. Okay? You're doing a big time service to her. So hopefully she'll be appreciative of that service. But the problem here is they're not appreciative of that service and they still want to step out and do whatever it is they want to. You know. That's what it comes down to. That's what I'm just reading I'm just reading a couple of more things before I move on to the next clip. Okay. So before I move on to the next clip, I kind of want to just go back to the book that I was reading to show you how these women operate, and basically let this be an example of how we should not operate. So Sheikh Bahauddin, may his grave be sacred, said, in the expulsion of devilish incitements and evil desires from their souls, the Salikun may be divided into three. The seeker, who represents the first group, sees evil desires and engages in expelling them until they enter into him. The seeker, who represents the second group, expels devilish desires until they have entered his soul, settling there and taking firm root. The seeker, who represents the third group, is he who, after the evil desires have grown strong within the soul, attempts to distance them and drive them from himself, though without being completely successful in his efforts. But it must be noted that if the Salik learns the place of origin of these desires and the reason for their striving towards him, then success and benefit will not pass him by. So when we look at this, like a lot of times modern women don't even recognize that they have these things inside of them, because you have guys like this who will tell them otherwise, and who will pander to them. Not the guy on the screen, but just certain guys. Hold on just a minute.
We put a lot of meaning in a signature. It signifies the start of something.
So shout outs to Mohammed Hijab. I have decided to take a 30-day hiatus off of Clubhouse. But I will say that, Mohammed Hijab, he is not really liked. He is not really liked on the Clubhouse streets, and neither is Mahdi Tijani. Neither is Mahdi Tijani liked on the Clubhouse streets either. Although shout outs to both of them on this side of the on this side of the street, But let's continue. Hold on.
So if we can start, just give us your full name and kind of your role or self-described role. I know you're a YouTuber, but anything else that adds on to that as well?
So my name is Mohammed Hijab, and in addition to being a YouTuber, as you've mentioned, I also do like lecturing. So I do that in our own institute in the UK in London called the Sapiens Institute, and also in various other places. For instance, I'm affiliated to a university in America called Mishka University, which I'm also doing part-time lecturing for. So that's what I do.
Great, thank you for that. So we'll move on to your platform. You've got, I think, over 700,000 YouTube subscribers now. What kind of made you start on YouTube, and what was the space that you were trying to infiltrate with that?
Well, I mean, I think it was an organic process. I was speaking to people from all different kind of walks of life. I've spoken to almost a representative from every world religion. I've spoken to people from all kinds of sexual background and these kinds of things. And basically we have discussions and debates, some of which have been with high, notable individuals, notorious individuals, some of which have been with the general public. And to be honest with you, it's picked up traction. And that's all it's been, really.
Did you expect to make such an impact with your channel?
Yeah, I did, because I knew what kind of thing we had to offer. And when you know what you have to offer, in fact, in terms of, for example, the content that we're providing, I knew that it was going to go far and wide, especially in Muslim communities, because it's cutting edge information, which I try to at least synthesize between secular knowledge, because I've got a background in like some secular fields, and also religious knowledge, which I've also got a background in, academic background in. So I knew that when you put these two things together, that people will benefit from that. And so that's what happened. And we say Alhamdulillah, which is praise be to God for that.
Great. And we'll move on. You mentioned that you have some influential figures, Andrew Tate being one of them. You were one of the first that Andrew Tate came on your podcast, and you spoke about his conversion to Islam. What was the intention of having him? You know his reputation, you know he's a notable figure. So what did you want to get from him when you decided to give him a platform on your YouTube channel?
Before we arranged it, actually, he wasn't a Muslim just yet. And so, when I first decided to have a conversation with him, it was going to be more, if you like, inquisitive or even interrogative, based on some of the things that he said in the past, some of the inconsistencies that I've seen in some of the prescriptions and descriptions or diagnoses and so on. But because he turned Muslim, in our faith, we have a belief that when someone becomes Muslim, their spiritual slate is wiped clean. So it ended up being much more friendly, much more conciliatory, much more harmonious. And that is because we believe everybody has a chance to amend for their ways, and anyone can have a chance for a second chance. And so he clarified, even notwithstanding that, he did clarify some of the things that were most problematic, in his output in the past. Whether people will be convinced with that is a question. I personally was convinced with that. I met him personally. I saw him in private, and he seemed to me like an authentic figure. So now that he's become a Muslim person, I do believe that things will change even more, but that's yet to be seen.
You've touched a bit on that. That forgiveness is a massive part of when you do convert. You have that slate wiped clean. Some people might not accept that, whereas his previous life, he was living a very haram lifestyle, fast cars, women, being arrogant about that and trying to promote his lifestyle to other people. Does that mean that all of that should be forgotten now?
I mean, fast cars are not haram. I mean, although if you use the money,
in terms of the arrogance of his life.
So I want you to keep that in mind too, is that there's nothing wrong with enjoying some things here, as long as those enjoyments don't like make you arrogant, like that other woman who was just super masculine about her house and super masculine about letting people into her house, and you know what I mean, just that kind of thing. As long as you don't allow that to happen, then you'll be good. You'll be okay.
Lifestyle and
I get what you mean. I'm
just showing off his wealth.
I'm just clarifying the point. I mean, certainly, but I think that, look, there are two things. You touch upon a good point, which is that your spiritual slate is wiped clean. As for those things which relate to the rights of people, clearly that's not wiped clean, and that's something, although from God can forgive you for it, the people don't necessarily need to forgive you for that. And so certainly there is work still to be done. It doesn't mean just because he has become Muslim that everything that he gets a get out of jail free card. No pun intended. I mean, this is obviously because he's in prison. But the point I'm making is that, I mean, I'm saying that he should certainly if there's anything that he's done in the past or continues to have, we as Muslim people, like for example, as you mentioned, casinos or and all those things, that should be gotten away. That should be gotten rid of. But having said that, I haven't spoken to him. It seems like he's in the process of doing that, if not has done that already, especially with, for example, the webcam business. I've spoken to him and his team, and they've told me that that's a thing of the past. So as I said, Islam is a religion which attempts to rectify the human condition. And so since he's new to it, I think it's only fair as a Muslim community that we give him time to make these appropriate changes. And I think that's what he's doing.
And given that you and Tate, I would say, he now has a very young Muslim, predominantly male following, does that not concern you, the Tate effect that has had on the wider community outside of the Muslim community, maybe in schools and things, people educating on how misogyny is not to be glamorized and people shouldn't talk about women in that way? Are you worried about the association, now that he has converted to Islam, that people will try to draw a narrative out of that?
What was the first thing you mentioned about Muslim male followers?
Like, I would say that he now has gained quite a few because of his conversion to Islam, and your following is, you would say, like quite predominantly young Muslim guys. Yeah, there's both of you have similar followings and similar power and influence within that. Do you worry that the Tate effect will carry on and your followers will see that and think, oh, okay, so he's a friend of Tate's, he's supporting him in some way by having him on his platform? It must mean that Tate and all of his past views.
Important things to unpack because these are terms that require kind of a treatment before something is a label is put on them. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is, in regards to his effect,
this idea that feminism doesn't exist. As in you thinks in that way. I would say
years ever since the 80s and 90s, and Andrew Tate represents what many people already think about the state of gender relations in the Western world today.
And that was based on a study, and you can appreciate that not everyone thinks in that way. And I would say maybe a lot of people might disagree. To those people who are then maybe directly affected by misogyny and by these things, do we still think that everyone should think in that way? And why are you promoting that way of thinking by suggesting that it doesn't exist? Feminism. As in, you mentioned there's studies and people that support this idea that feminism doesn't exist. You've something that you've spoke about on your channel, and Tate, I would say, kind of, as you said, it would sit under the red pill ideology. Those views being out there and to publics, like to huge follower accounts put on platforms where young people are watching more than they will go down to their local imam and have these conversations, is that then just like putting that view on them?
Well, first of all, I mean, you said that feminism, many people say feminism doesn't exist. I was not saying that the study said that. The study stated that feminism has gone too far, and that now it's starting to discriminate against men, is what Gen Z, and it was a study that was done recently. This is in last week, it was published, and it was actually made into kind of newspaper articles. You can see in the Telegraph, for example, had an article on it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, as I say, the reason why it's important to define exactly what we mean by misogyny is because, for example, conservative Muslims, Jewish.
So basically, when they call you misogynist and stuff, it's basically a translation of you having holding a certain standard, having a certain standard, and them not being able to meet that standard because of the simple fact that they were allowed to do whatever it is that they wanted to do and not think that they would have to suffer consequences for doing what it was that they were allowed to do.
People, for example, Christian people, some conservative Christians, with some difference, of course, and within those religions there's difference as well. They would consider, for example, a differentiation when it comes to gender roles, that the man has certain roles that the woman doesn't. that there are some things that a man should do, or the responsibilities that a woman shouldn't have. And to modern day feminist proponents, that could be considered to be a form of discrimination. So when you mentioned the imam, the thing is, according to many of the feminist readings that I've read, I've written a book on feminism called Fifth Wave Feminism, that I've read on an academic level. I believe that if people were to be exposed to the biblical verses, for example, in Leviticus chapter 21, where it's talking about what the punishment should be. In fact, the Bible talks about death penalty being imposed on someone who's done sexual relations, or even the Quran doesn't mention a death penalty here, but it does mention the immorality of the sexual act itself in chapter 7, verse 81, for example. And these are things that if someone were to go to their local rabbi or local priest or their local imam, that they would, for example, on these issues, on the LGBTQ issues, or on the gender rights issues or roles and responsibilities, may offer a response not too dissimilar from that which Andrew Tate himself would bring forth. And I would even take it one step further and say that you'll be surprised at the amount of Muslim women, for example, who believe in these things. I mean, for example, there was, I think it's called the ICM, and this was in 2016, in fact. The ICM conducted a survey on Muslim people on, for example, homosexuality. And you'll be surprised because Andrew Tate, I've looked at scoured his record, have not seen anything about homosexuality in particular, where he's going as far as Muslim people have gone, actually, men and women. Only 13% of Muslim people in this country believe that homosexuality should even be legal, men and women. So the point is, these are anti-normative views. And these anti-normative views, whether Andrew Tate is there or not, would have been there already. The question.
So the thing is about it is that with the advent of Andrew Tate, what he what he pretty much did was he added a face to what many people like the Manosphere, the Red Pill community have been saying before. He added a face to it, much in the same way that Kevin Samuels added a face to what we've been saying for the longest. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the fact of the matter is he added there was a face that was added onto it, right? So this is basically what was said in terms of you know, what the points that we were making before. You know what I mean? So this is just what it is, you know.
Question is, are we as the Muslim people, as or the Jewish people or Christian people or others, are we allowed to have those views? If we express those views, would we be now censored? Would we be punished? Should there be a punishment for having that view? Because if the suggestion is that there should be a punishment for that, then I would suggest that pluralism, multiculturalism, and even liberalism itself has failed, because the idea of pluralism is that you have these individuals in society and groups that have equal ability to express themselves. And if you want to put the liberal harm principle on it, so long as they don't harm anybody else. So me believing, for example, that a man and a woman should have equality of value but not identicality in roles, me believing in this is something which my faith tells me, a majority of Muslim people believe in that. Majority of Jewish people, Orthodox Jewish, for example, believe in something like that.
So I want you to like keep this in mind. This is very heavy. This is very, very heavy. The physical, the mental, and the genetic makeup of men and women are different, right? And I would even say emotional, right? However, when it comes to the spiritual and the moral compass, we're equal. So let that sink in, that when you see these women doing these kind of like things that are morally wrong, then yes, you have to hold them to the same account that you will hold a man to. You know what I mean?
And so the question is, can I now have this belief freely, or must I be censored? Must I now be? And that's really where the question is today, because woke ideology and the left have taken this too far and privileged the rights of some people over the rights of others. And I think that's where the discussion really is.
And in terms of that, like people having different opinions, you'd say normative, to people having a different alternative view on things, the algorithm will favor people who have those controversial views. They will get more likes, they will get more viewerships because people are interested in what they're saying. But do you think that people are being questioned enough on, or like, are they being questioned enough on their views? For example, your podcast with Tate, you went through a lot of things, but we didn't, and you have mentioned there that you had a chat like away from the podcast on those haram things that he was doing, and whether he is repenting those and whether he will make those changes. Is that something you see in his future now that he has converted and maybe had a bit more education around Quran?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, these are things that the future is something I can't really speculate on. But I think that the question I tried to pose to you is as follows, is that now we have these different groups in the United Kingdom, right? You have homosexuals, LGBTQ society, you have Muslims, you have Christians, you have whatever, and there's an overlap between these groups. It's not like this is only one or the other. There's clearly an overlap between those groups as well. Now, what I'm saying is, I personally believe what's happening in mainstream media, because you talk about the algorithm. Now, social media are people like myself, who don't have the financial backing, or only have a camera to my disposal, and people to click subscribe and like and stuff like that. Social media is one of the only ways that, for example, Muslim people and others can get a voice to the mainstream public. But the mainstream media is propagating an entirely different type of discourse, which I believe is exclusionary to conservative Jewish, conservative Muslims, you want to call them that, Orthodox Muslims, and so on. And so the question is, can we be allowed to say what we want without reprisal or without being called these names, which will have an impact on our lives and livelihoods, which will have an impact on our job, prospects and employability or lack thereof? I think we're finding that there's now draconian or coercive methods. Sometimes it can be even worse than this, which have stopped people from having that liberty.
He's right. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is becoming very draconian at this time. Even for me, I'm on my I guess I don't have the information on the study that he's referring to. I don't. I apologize. I don't. But I will say that yes, it is becoming more increasingly draconian in terms of what you can say and what you cannot say here. It's sad, but it's the truth. Like it really is the truth that like it is becoming more draconian in nature. You can There's certain things that they don't want you to say that will get you canceled. I myself am on like I don't even I can't even count what account of TikTok I'm on because of my views and because of my opinions. It's sad, but they wanted to have like one uniform way. They just want it to be in one uniform way, and that uniform way is definitely not going to be a benefit overall. But let's continue.
And this is where the problem is. The power doesn't lie with us. The power lies with the hegemonic colonial power, which happens to be the United States of America and its extensions, and Western Europe. who are propagating an entirely different message, and the message is basically left wing for the most part, and and if you don't conform to that, you're attacked. So I don't know if it's because the thing is, we're talking about Andrew Tate, for example, but we haven't even outlined exactly what views that we disagree with here. Like, you talk about misogyny, we said it depends on how you define misogyny, but what exactly are the views that he holds? So it can be a bit, well, haram things, okay, fine, we agree. Those haram, the webcam and all that kind of those things, fine, for the sake of argument. But apart from that, his social views, what exactly do you find most troublesome about his views, for example?
It's not for me personally to speak on as a journalist, but reportedly he thinks that men are the not ulterior. English is my second language. Basically, that men are higher than women. I'm trying to in English. I don't know. I'm Welsh first language. I don't know the actual word. Or higher, or have more respect. Should get more respect or more power than women. I think he's made a claim that men own women. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, I did clarify that one with him, and he did say that he didn't mean it in those terms. So putting that one to the side as well.
You can see.
Yeah, it's provocative language, which is why I asked him about it on my podcast with him. So he clarified that one now. So let's, for the sake of argument, say that, because he's been asked about that multiple times, and he said that I don't mean it like that. So that's one thing. What else are we talking about here? Now, when you talk about higher, what men are higher than women, in what regard? In physical strength, for example, or in what sense?
This is just what he is thought to have done because of the way that he has spoken about women. The way that he speaks about women has been reported as speaking down to women, not respecting women, and that people have been directly affected or claimed to have sort of been discriminated against because of their gender, because of the effect that he has had on.
I get what you're saying, but with respect to you, you're doing a good job, by the way. I don't want to put you on the spot. I mean, but what I'm saying is, with respect to you, you still haven't really given me a strong enough quotation of what he has said that really, you disagree with, or that is disagreeable in the first place. Let's say, like, you say that men is higher than women. I don't know if I come across that exact quote, but let's say for the sake of argument, he says something like that. It would need to be contextualized. Does he mean it, for example, in the sense of finances, that men have more money than women, more generally speaking, or that they have more physical strength? We'd need to look at what he said. But what I'm saying is that a lot of what he says, the majority of the world agrees with. I mean, this is what I'm saying. For example, in terms of
without context.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, like, for example, on the issue of traditional families and stuff, go to Africa, or go to Asia, or go to and ask them what they think the family should look like. And in fact, get a quotation of Andrew Tate, word for word, about his views on family and the average feminist view on family, or second wave feminist, and present both transcripts to the average Nigerian and see what he has to say.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Even when you look at, like, for example, on TikTok, like, on TikTok, on TikTok, like, for example, I made a post showing, right? I made a post showing how the new army commercials are. I made a post on how I'm showing, like, the new army, like the new army commercials of America. And the new army commercials of America actually show a the new army commercial showed, like, two, like, a woman, and she said that her wife, quote unquote, her wife came from a well, actually, that she came from a two-mother household. Yeah, that's what it was. It showed that she came from a two-mother household. So you know, you see that this is being pushed, right? You see that this thing is being pushed, and with it being pushed, right? With it being pushed, it shows you that it's a overall thing at work, but you'll still have an American say, "Oh no, that's not true. Oh no, that no, the majority of Americans don't think like that." When in reality, the majority of Americans do think like that because the majority of Americans are liberals. That's the thing that we have to understand.
You know, the reason why Andrew Tate is picking up traction is because he's going with the tide, in the sense that he is saying what the majority of the world is saying, but the West has forgotten. That is really why he's become so popular. But this is not new stuff, what he's saying. He's talking about women being, for example, homemakers or mothers of children or something like that. You know, I mean, people will find that offensive. People find this offensive nowadays, Zara. If I were to say to you, for example, Zara, like, I personally believe that, you know, you should be at home and, you know, you should be married to somebody. And
Sorry, it just cut out there.
Yeah, I was saying that if I were to say to you, I think the best role for you is in the house, raising children and so on. To what extent do you find that offensive? If I said the best role,
I can't comment because I'm not the one being interviewed.
But I get what I'm saying. But do you see the point? You would agree that many women would find that if I went to ITV Studios, right, and the women that are there, career women, and I said, listen, I think I want to make a speech and this and that, and I said, look, I personally believe that the best thing for women here in this thing is that they stay at home and raise their children, you know, and look after them, because this career is not going to give them the kind of happiness that they think is going to give them. Do you not feel like in an average place, maybe in ITV Studios or something like that, that would be seen as offensive to many women in this country?
I feel like in the same way that you say that a lot of people would agree with the alternative view, there'll be a different response across the board because not everyone has the same view.
No, I appreciate that, but I'm saying that if you go to Nigeria,
that again, it's kind of a
what I'm saying is, if you go to the Orthodox Jewish community, and I make this statement in a synagogue, I'm pretty sure I'd get a response rate which would be completely different from ITV Studios. So what I'm saying is, it's all contextual. So he represents some of his traditional views are actually the majority view in the world, I would say. So the point is it's difficult to, when someone says misogyny and stuff like that, we really need to know what they're talking about here. Because if they mean that they want to impose their feministic worldview, which is that men have exactly the same roles, and like Ngozi says in the Feminist Manifesto, she says that the exact same rights and exact same responsibilities. And she gave one example, one exception. She says breastfeeding is the exception because it's operationally impossible for a man to breastfeed. I mean, most of the world doesn't agree with this thing. And so if he says something like that, and then yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just in the term of like context of misogyny being different for other people, what would you say then if there's a follower of Tate who might not have be as well versed as what misogyny means in different aspects, someone who just follows Tate because they like the persona that he gives out there, has no interest in learning about what misogyny is, or hasn't just given it the time of day to learn about what that is, and still kind of mimics his behavior or his views.
Now, the thing is, I want to say this too, and this is just of my opinion. But in my opinion, misogyny does not really exist in the West. You look at the White House and you look at like how things are there, and you can say that really misogyny does not really exist. The ones who say that feminism doesn't exist are the ones who are really delusional, because we know for a fact that this is why we're in the situation we're in right now, is because of feminism. It's not because of misogyny. Definitely is not because of misogyny. Yeah.
where then would you stand on that? Is it just
his
that
behavior.
they need to
That's a theatrical performance. I would stand on it in the same way as I would see any other theatrical performance. You know, as an entertainer, at the end of the day, he's got you speaking about me, about him. So there's clearly, like, you know, whatever he's done to some extent has worked. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And so the point is that it's there to kind of catch people's attention. Most imams on many of the same issues would have a view, maybe many rabbis would have a view, many priests would have a view, similar, if not identical to Tate's when it comes to the nuclear family, when it comes to gender roles, when it comes to so many of these diagnoses. They would have the same view. They don't have the same charisma as him. They don't have the same way of articulating themselves as he does. And as such, obviously, he's going to get more traction. He's made what's mainstream in the world more mainstream in the West. That's all he's done. He's said the same things as you would hear a Nigerian man. I don't know why I keep bringing Nigerians together. Or Moroccan man. I think you're from Morocco originally, something like that, right? So a Moroccan man sitting, drinking his tea, he'd say the same things on some of the issues relating to the issue. And if a feminist were to see that Moroccan man or that Nigerian man, you know, or our forefathers living in North Africa, they would say this guy is misogynist. So I mean, so when this label is overused, it has no meaning anymore. And so Andrew Tate, we need to know, okay, some of the stuff is questionable, and I agree. But some of the stuff that really people have a problem with, quite frankly, are the same things that the majority of the world believes in. And so the controversy is only within our shores and within the Western world. It shouldn't be, we shouldn't really necessarily think that, this is something unremarkable. He's coming with something remarkable. This is completely unremarkable. What some of the stuff he's saying, traditional family and this kind of crisis of masculinity. So much so that, as I've mentioned, Ipsos says that the majority of British people think feminism has gone too far and is discriminating against men, Gen Z and millennials. So yeah, I don't necessarily think that he's a lot of the stuff.
Just a bit conscious of time, so I'm just going to go on to the next question if that's okay with you. And also just to mention, if this does time out, I'll just send an extra link so we can carry on the conversation because I don't want to miss anything out. But you mentioned there labels, and from a lot of things that I've read about you, and you might not be too happy about it, but your name will probably crop up with the terms Ackright Bro, red pill, and things like that. What is your interpretation of what those things mean, and why do you think that people are associating you with those?
I know there was one particular article that was written, and the person that was consulted was an individual who I excommunicated from the religion of Islam because of his aberrational views. So he had a personal vendetta against me, and he was consulted. And all this is on the public record, and he made these labels. So I don't...
Keep this in mind, too. I want you guys to keep this in mind that, like, for example, if you're a liberal, like a liberal Muslim, if you are a liberal Muslim, yeah, you will, chances are you will go against like people who are opposite of what you're calling for. Okay, that's the thing. This is how it works. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, right? With that being said, right? Your sometimes your biggest opponents won't even be your biggest opponents won't even be non-Muslims. Some of your biggest opponents will be Muslims, you know. To be honest with you, this is how it happens, unfortunately. You know. But let's continue.
I don't think it's their prominent or widespread labels, and not least because obviously I've actually done videos against red pill ideology itself, and I've called it very strong language. I think it was abominable. I used the word abominable, abhorrent, or something like that. And the reason why I think that the red pill ideology is abominable or abhorrent is because of its decadence, because of the things that it calls for. There isn't a strong objectification of women, for example, which we don't agree with. The kind of language that is recommended in red pill manuals and books and so on for us to use, for example, as men with women, is not even language that majority of the same men would use or allow to be used for their daughters or their mothers. So I think that it's a reactionary movement, but at the same time, it does carry a lot of truth. And in my opinion, way more truth than a religion. Oh, you can call it a religion, but and a political ideology like feminism, in terms of its scientific backing, its statistical backing, and so on. Having said that, I do think it has some very negative elements. Once again, I've mentioned the decadence. I mentioned some of the things that go against our vision of a vision of a moral society. For instance, this idea of they say you can let your wife go and have an open relationship with her or stuff like that, and all this idea, this obsession with body counts. Sorry to say, but body counts, like as in how many women a man sleeps with. These are things, most, I would say clearly, is that we do everything for the sake of God. We believe that God is all knowing, all hearing, all wise. And that the reasons why we act in a certain way with our wives or with our daughters or with anything else is because we believe that God has instructed us to do that. Red Pill doesn't have this religious impetus or component at all. So there are so many aspects of Red Pill ideology which contradict Islam, contradict what it means to be a good person in the religion of Islam, and therefore we are opposed to those aspects as well. People labeling me as these things after I've mentioned all that in clear-cut fashion, I think is a good example of how the narrative is attempting, or people are trying to malign the narrative in their favor, really.
You do not identify with any of those labels. And when, like, Acolyte Bro is kind of it's quite a modern word now.
And that's the thing, like, with content, like you may make content and you may not even call it red pill. You're just like giving your point, your perspective. You're just giving your perspective. But unfortunately, what happens is that when your perspective, maybe there's some points that line up with like the red pill or whatever, it will automatically, unfortunately, be labeled under red pill. And it's not even, most of the time, you're not even doing, like, you're not specifically doing red pill content creation. You're specifically not, like, your core audience isn't red pill content, but your audience is basically just people who are living the same experience as you are. That's your audience. So yeah, it's kind of weird to me, but yeah, that's what they do. What they'll say basically is that what they'll say is that they'll say that, oh, like a modern woman will say same red pill manuscript talking points, because them themselves are listening to them. Them themselves are listening to these talking points because of the simple fact that they can't help themselves but to listen to these talking points. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never really been one to listen to an all girls or all women's podcast. I've never like really done that. I never really sat down and listened to an all women's podcast, or just listened to a podcast that just had women on it. I never had the need to do that because I know the points are going to be the same thing that they say, that men ain't ish, we're dusty, this, that, and the other. I heard everything that I needed to hear when one woman actually said, and this was crazy, she actually said that being a good man is not enough. She actually said that, man. Yeah, she said that. Dead serious. She said that.
Now that I haven't really seen around. what's your interpretation of what that means, and kind of why do you think you're now seen as one?
As I mentioned, I think it's only been mentioned by like one obscure figure who has a personal vendetta with me on a CNN article that was published, and he was consulted. This particular individual, I excommunicated from the religion of Islam, because on the basis of him allegorizing stories of the Quran and saying that these are not actually things that happen. So I said that for me, such a person is not a Muslim. I'm allowed to have that opinion, and I do. So he proceeded to, smear me with these names, and that's fine. I mean, I consider him a disbeliever. He considers me a right wing. I think I would rather take the right wing label than the disbeliever label anyway. But having said that, I mean, there are many aspects of Islam, and I've made another video as a shorts, actually, 1 minute video. Is Islam right wing or left wing? And what I said in that shorts is that it's neither, and we shouldn't think of Islam in those terms. For example, part of right wing ideology, as you may know, is immigration policies. Many people are very much opposed to immigration in right wing circles, whereas Islam is essentially a cosmopolitan religion. It's actually the most multicultural religion in the face of the planet. And so we don't have the same.
And so that's what makes us like pretty different. Like if you are identifying with like the passport bro, like the subsector of Muslim passport bro makes you kind of like different in the sense that like you can go to like a place where is like nominally not really like a lot of black people, but your religion basically will allow you to pretty much have like a stable time there, because it's so ingrained in their culture that it will work out for you pretty well. Now, I'm not saying you should go everywhere. I'm not saying you should go to like all Muslim countries, because yes, there are. I'm not going to sit here and say that there are not Muslim countries who do not have anti-black sentiments. I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't, but for the most part, a lot actually have. You'll fit right in, just based off of the belief that you have of God, which makes Islam pretty good.
Same citizen-centered approach, or nationalistic approach as many people on the right have, for instance. And on the left wing, of course, socially, we're very far away from those things that, I've mentioned in this interview relating to gender roles and homosexuality and so on. And so Islam is neither left or right wing. And I believe that asking the question of whether Islam is left or right wing itself has colonial undertones, almost as if all morality should be within the scope of left and right wing constructions, put forward by the white man. I personally believe that's
me. I've never even identified. I've always called myself non-aligned. I've never ever said that I identify with the left. I've never even said I identify with the right. I've never used those kind of like terms. I've never said I've never really had the need to say, oh yeah, I'm a leftist. Oh yeah, I'm a right. I've always said I'm non-aligned, man. I've always believed right is right, wrong is wrong. I've never did the other things. But unfortunately, Muslims and non-Muslims feel that you have to pick a side. That's what they feel,
Such constructions are only applicable to a very, select type of social reasoning that is employed in the political discourses in the West. Shouldn't be generalized to you're either right wing or left wing or centrist. I'm neither of those things or any of those things. And I don't think Islam is either.
We'll move on. I think we've got about 3 minutes. I'll skip to the end. And it's basically, where do you see you and Tate's relationship now in terms of, for example, if he came out and was able to do like podcasts, anything like that again, would you be welcoming with him with open arms, or is that dependent on how he has chosen to live his life at that point?
I support Andrew Tate in as much as he supports Islam. And I would say the same thing about any human being on the face of the earth. I support that person as much as they support Islam, or they believe in it, or they support it, or they don't discriminate against it. And so if he continues with the religion of Islam, he will find me as one of his supporters. The Quran actually mentions this explicitly. وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاء بَعْض. That the believers, believing men and women, actually, men and women, explicitly men and women, both of them are allies of one another. And so we have a relationship of allyship. We have an allyship with anybody who decides to enter the religion of Islam or support it. So my relationship with Andrew Tate, so much as he is a member of my community, is one of support, just as much as had I been a member of the LGBTQ society or community, and Andrew Tate, sorry to say, had become a homosexual, I am sure that he would not be discriminated against as a homosexual by the LGBTQ community, that they would welcome him with open arms, and they may even decide to forgive him for his, if you like, prior sins according to their worldview. So I don't see that this is an issue, because there are multiple subcultures in the United Kingdom, and there are multiple ways of being, communities, and all of them have their hierarchization or prioritization in favor of their own belief system first and foremost, and their community in addition to that. So to answer your question directly, I would support Andrew Tate in as much as he supports the religion of Islam, and that would mean in any way possible, legal, PR perspective, or anything else. And I would do the same thing with any human being, man or woman or child on the face of the earth.
It's letting me do it, so that's great. I know that we touched a bit on there, that it doesn't matter who Andrew Tate was, if that was an LGBT person, a woman, that they would again be welcome with open arms on your channel. But do you think that is the general view? So, for example, if Tate was a woman, had lived the exact same lifestyle as he was, and had then converted to Islam, do you think that he would have been welcomed in the same way?
There were people like Sinead O'Connor, who had lived decadent lifestyles from our perspective, who was not only welcomed into Islam and the communities, conservative communities, male-dominated ones, but they were actually even added into the list of most influential Muslims on the earth. Like, for example, Sinead O'Connor, from what I've seen, she's in the list of 500 most influential Muslims. And so the answer, in short, is absolutely. And there is precedent for that. In terms of my own discussions, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this interview, that actually I have had discussions with feminists, and I've had discussions with people who identify as transgender and Muslim at the same time, which was actually very controversial in my community when I did this. But my mantra is that I will speak to anybody. I don't mind who it is, and that is because the religion of Islam, or the message of Islam, should be one that we could promote or convey to anybody, whoever they are, from whatever background. So this allegation that many have been trying to put forward, that, well, he's getting some kind of preferential treatment, is not only far away from the truth, it's actually ahistorical when you look at the recent contemporary conversions to Islam, people becoming Muslim, men and women. So yes, the answer is yes. If it was a woman, if it was someone who's transgender, if it was anybody, whatever sexual orientation they may have or whatever, they are most welcome to speak to us in a discussion format, in a non-interrogative way, just like me and you are having a discussion now.
And that's where the problem therein lies. When people, like, when the feminists, for example, the feminists, the like the misandrists and the gynocracy, they don't want to speak to you. They don't want to speak to you in like like just in a calm, collected manner. It's always an interrogation type thing. You know, I was on Clubhouse the night before, and there's this one social media influencer who says that like she's entitled to a 7-figure man, and she weighs like like 300 pounds, and you know, you have women on there who, you know, were encouraging that behavior and things like that. And then it became all of a sudden me getting interrogated for me speaking out on how she felt so entitled to want a certain type of caliber of man when she doesn't bring anything to that caliber of man. You know, so the problem is that they interrogate you. They don't even come to the table in a respectful, calm manner. It always ends up shouting and things like that, even when you just are simply giving your opinion about something. You're giving your opinion, and they can't really take your opinion. So that's therein where the issue lies. So that's why you can't really even talk to them.
And if they become Muslim, then yes, the same rule applies to them as well.
Skipped a bit. Oh, well, with say Tate, he comes out of jail, given that happens, and decides to revert back to some of the haram things that he was doing, and living in like a non-Islamic lifestyle. What would be your take on that then?
Well, I mean, we believe if something is done publicly, it must be refuted publicly. And so I would say that at that point, after he has been given, if you like, a probationary period, that the Muslim community would need to clarify that these things are not something which Islam actually allows, whether or not Andrew Tate does it or anybody else. If Muhammad Hijab does it, if my friends do it, if something is done publicly, it must be corrected publicly. And so this is the general rule, but with new Muslims, we have more of a compassionate approach, and we give people time to make the changes in their life.
So you wouldn't speak out on that, given a certain amount of time has passed?
Yeah, I would. I may, depending on the severity of the sin. Obviously, like we're talking about, if something is said which, for example, contradicts the teachings of Islam, that needs to be corrected. If something is done which is one of the major sins and is done publicly, then that needs to be corrected publicly. This is the general rule. It's called al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. So I would be happy to correct those things, but after a process has been had, and I've got direct communication with Andrew Tate. Many of the things that he's accused of, I speak to him on WhatsApp. Well, not anymore for now, but you know, and I ask him what he intended by this and that. And the point is simply that I think that we need to give the man time to make the changes, and maybe he comes out of prison or a changed man. He may have a completely different parlance. He may have a different way of thinking, because Islam would change him if he followed it properly. It would change. It would have to change him. Islam would change a lot of his behaviors, a lot of his.
And so let that be a lesson too, with Islam that with Islam that with Islam that you would think, for example, like what's happening like with modern women, for example, you would think that you would think that like the modern Muslim woman would see what's happening and realize like, hey, you know, this is not good, this is not cool, you know, what's going on ain't cool. But because of her like disdain for Islam, that has now taken a back seat, and it's now become like, oh, only Allah can judge me, It's now became that, Allah knows what's in my heart. It hasn't be. It's not. It's not that. Wow, this is wrong. Let's try to fix this. Let's try to fix this issue. What's going on? This is unfortunately not the case.
Even attitudes and beliefs. There are even some beliefs that he carries now which are not Islamic in the strictest sense, and obviously that needs time for him to realize that he needs to align himself with the Islamic teachings.
And to Tate followers who might be thinking about converting to Islam to follow Tate in his on his basically like life path and life journey, do you think that, well, for one, do you think that will happen? Do you think there'll be an effect of people who are non-Islamic joining Islam? And then do you think that their intentions will be correct, or are they doing it just because they want to be like Tate?
I can't judge someone's intention, but it's already happening. Yeah. People are coming into Islam because of him.
I've seen it happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's happening where you are, but it's certainly happening where we are. And a lot of them come and they become very, very religious. And that's why I say I believe that's a force of good, that in the sense that he's a force of good in that sense. If they followed the Islamic teachings, they would realize where Andrew Tate himself is following the Islamic teachings and when he's not. So Islam is a religion which is not about following personalities, except for the personality of the Prophet Muhammad and the rest of the prophets. So we believe in that the ultimate guides for humanity are the prophets, the figures, the protagonists in the Quran. Then after that, you've got the companions of the Prophet and so on, but certainly the prophets. And so we believe that if someone follows Islam, they should be trying to imitate the prophets. I mean, if you consider all of the metrics that Andrew Tate has achieved, I mean, the Prophet Muhammad, we would say, has achieved no less than 1 million times more than him, whether it be in influence. I mean, we're talking about Prophet Muhammad now, 1,400 years, whether it be in demographic influence, whether we're talking about military prowess and ability, whether we're talking about managing relationships. He has managed 9 relationships at one time. He was in a very hard kind of polygamous marriage with women that he took on not to use and abuse, but we would say he took them on for strategic reasons, as a caretaker, as a helper of society. And so we believe that the Prophet Muhammad is the ultimate role model for those individuals who want to follow Andrew Tate. Therefore, from the Muslim community and other else, I would actually say that this is the wrong kind of move. Instead, one should be following the Prophet Muhammad, who Andrew Tate himself is now trying to follow. I mean, why would you follow someone who is following someone else for his guidance? Why not just follow the ultimate source of the guidance, or let's just say the ultimate source of the ultimate role model, which is the Prophet Muhammad, who Andrew Tate himself recognizes is a greater person than he is in every respect. So I would say, no, you should follow the Prophet Muhammad.
You can't deny the power of influence. Like it just gets people, like everyone's talking about them, everyone wants to watch them. They are seen as kind of these icons within like modern society. Is that then wrong then, that you would iconize people as role models, as in people who aren't prophets? Is that a healthy thing to think of someone as a role model?
We have a saying from one of the companions of the Prophet which says that if you want to follow someone, his name is Ibn Mas'ud, he said, if you want to follow someone who has died, because the living one has not yet passed the tribulations of life.
Yeah, that's true. This is why, like, for the most part, like, I get my information from like those who came before. You know what I mean? There are some impactful people who are living right now, but when you look at the ones who actually who actually, I guess you can say, who paved the way, basically, most of them are already deceased, you know. That's the thing. So yeah. Yeah, most of them are already deceased for the most part. So that's why it's better to take from the ones who are, you know, who are, you know, already gone. But let's continue.
The point is, if well, I would always advise someone who's completed the test and done everything is a better person to follow than someone who's still being tested. We don't know what Andrew Tate is going to do in the next 5 years. He might apostate from the religion of Islam. He may become a feminist. He may, you know, anything can happen. So all I'm saying is following such a person would bring about a series of problems. And so instead, we would say to Muslim people in particular to follow the Prophet Muhammad, men and women as well, actually, to follow the Prophet Muhammad. So yes, it does bring about problems when you follow anyone who's living, from our perspective. But then again, we would say Andrew Tate is an individual who is manifesting a series of attributes which men have been deprived of seeing in and having role model to them. Gallantness, courageousness, great articulation. He embodies a lot of what could be seen classically as, like, you know, the intellectual warrior type. Intellectual because he's clever in some aspects and he can play chess and these kinds of things, but at the same time he can put up a good fight, and that in many ways that's what a man wants to be. He wants to be an intellectual warrior, and so from those angles, looking at Andrew Tate or anybody else who has these set of characteristics,
yeah, you kind of have to have those areas covered, you know what I mean? Like when you look at like what the archetype is, you have to kind of like cover those boxes. So that's why it's important to think and be strong. But the unfortunate thing, the very unfortunate thing is that many modern women don't want you to think. You know, many modern women want you to just kind of like be able to be what's that word? Be just kind of go along with the okie doke, you know, while they go ahead and do what it is that they want to do. They don't, as a matter of fact, I would say that they don't like a man who thinks. You know, as crazy as that is to believe, they really don't like a man who thinks, you know.
For inspiration, I don't think is an unhealthy thing for people to do, so long as they're able to sift that out from all the things which are more problematic in his personality.
And how, just to close now, how important is it that we separate views and opinions of people, be that things that they call their core beliefs as human beings, to words of the Quran, to Islam as it's in its full form? Is it wrong to be drawing narratives, i.e., like that if someone is misogynistic, they're trying to justify that with words of the Quran?
But as I've mentioned before, misogyny itself is a buzzword that requires definition. So,
okay, so in maybe not misogyny, but anything, I don't know, any problematic views,
yeah,
and that's an interpretation, right?
Yeah, I mean, some
what problematic is for different people.
We're living in an age where, in the post-Enlightenment period in the Western world, we have a phenomena where people now are influenced by red pill ideology. They're influenced by feminism, liberalism, and so many other things. And they don't want to admit their influence of these things, but they certainly are influenced. Men, women, and children. Okay. And when they are, for example, they are subscribers, let's say, to a religious faith group like Islam, Muslim people, sometimes you can have the phenomena of trying to superimpose what is referred to in hermeneutics as eisegesis, to put words into the Quran or try and find things from the Quran in order to try and justify their positions. This is problematic. We would say it's a hermeneutical problem. And so,
well, he kind of didn't really speak on the gender war. Like, I guess there was nothing really about gender wars in this interview like that. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. This gentleman is Mohammed Hijab. He is a like a, I guess you can say he's like a speaker, like a I guess I don't know what his Islamic training is, but he has influence on in the YouTube sector. But he also is on in the lecture circuit too outside of YouTube. I don't know what his Islamic I don't know what his Islamic teaching is though, however. I really don't know. You know. But I'll be right back. I'm still gonna have this run. I think maybe I'll do maybe like 30 more minutes or so, and then end it. But yeah, this is just the Ramadan reset. I think we should take notes from everything that we've heard, and yeah, you know, I never once like called my content though red pill. I never once used that word to refer to it. But I guess like because of my talking points, these talking points fit into the red pill manuscript type thing. Okay.
To answer your question directly, yes, I think it is a thing, a phenomenon that's happening. People try and justify their positions by quoting verses of the Quran, cherry picking them, and leaving other things out. And that does happen in the field of gender as well. Men and women do it. And people that are influenced by feminism or red pill or whatever other ideology.
When advertising on YouTube, I know that making an authentic video with a clear call to action is the key to getting results. That's why YouTube offers
changes the whole atmosphere. When she talks, it's a respect. Everyone gets quiet. You want to listen to her. You want to honor that. And that's what we need to push for women in society, because we need, if we return to that, the power that is in that, men would naturally protect us.
And here's the thing: it's one thing to say it, but because I was actually thinking about this earlier. Like, how do I? Because I can say to you, like, listen, just based off of her presence, it's just like if something was to happen, I'm like, Megan, you good? Based off the aura in the room or whatever that changed, right? So it's just like, how do we get more women in the understanding of like that's what femininity is?
It's not happening. So like that's the thing. Like even for the women who are against what is going on right now, like even for those women who are against these things, that they don't like what's going on, they don't they don't feel the that they okay, even if they recognize that it's wrong and stuff on what's going on, they're still not going to um they're still not going to be able to make an impact because there's too many other ones who are talking for what's going on right now. Okay? That's what I'm saying. So even if you do have the ones who are meaning good, the ones who do want better out of like who want like a better outcome, it's still not going to matter at the end of the day. That's what I'm trying to say.
Dill Bounty Villains. Before we start this video, like and comment for the algorithm. Also, follow me on Rumble. Link will be in the description. Enjoy the video. Peace.
Comment right here is exactly why Black women feel the way that they feel. You're telling me that you can go overseas and fully have the influence and inspiration to support a woman in totality of another culture, but not your own?
Well, the thing is too, you have to understand something too, like you know, from the African perspective, and also like the Arab perspective, which kind of changed what the Arabs are, you know, what kind of changed like what Arabs are, you know, in terms of phenotype today. It usually wasn't a big deal. It really was it usually wasn't a big deal for for a Arab to like go to say like Syria, which was Roman at one time, go to like Lebanon, which was I think Levantine at one time, go to Egypt, which was Coptic at one time, and pretty much get like pretty much get in where they fit in, where they would like go ahead and like change like add to the culture and things like that. So it's like it's not really a big deal. Like if the culture that you're escaping from is self-destructive and you're going to something that is more constructive, then there's no harm, no foul. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, you're not going to change what is going on over here. So why not go to somewhere where it's not destructive? You know, there's no harm, no foul. But these women will try to guilt trip you into believing there's harm and foul in what you're doing.
Yes, simply because our own culture, women like you in certain communities have these popcorn bags on their head, and we can't sleep at night because we hear the pop, pop, popping going on all night, and you always have it set to high. So, of course, men are going to go overseas and deal with women who don't have that issue. Also, you guys just don't have what men are typically looking for anything long term. You guys have effectively became the men that you've always wanted, and you can't attract the men that you actually want because you're too busy trying to be the men and compete with the men. That's unattractive to men. Men don't want dudes.
Shout outs to Bountyville.
I say this all the time, yet women still don't get it. Guys, this is panic mode. We are entering the time period of panic mode when women are seeing this influx of passport bros and men that are taking their resources and going overseas while their well dries up. As I said in a previous video, their well is beginning to dry up. Men are not dealing with them anymore for anything, not even sexually, and they're focused on getting out of here and making their money. You're going to see panic mode just like this. And this is exactly why I'm making these videos, so I can keep you guys up to date about the popcorn bags, the leftovers, the mastodons, and the Dodge Me's. But let's continue on.
Mind you, historically, when have we seen a Black woman not contribute or carry her weight in a relationship? That's what y'all know us for.
Not necessarily. Like, to be honest, like, and I'm gonna just speak on my personal experience, and my personal experience is not by any means for someone to feel bad for me, for someone to feel like, oh, you know, who hurt you type thing. That's not my reason for saying these things. But I will say that I will say that many times I will say that, like, American Black women have, you know, usually usually insulted me based on my quote unquote African features, based on these kind of things. And yeah, uh with that being said, you know, I knew for a fact that they wouldn't hold it down in a relationship, which is why I did not get into relationships with them. You know what I mean? I never got into relationships with them, and I never really desired to get into relationships with them, for the simple fact they showed me who they were. You know, they showed me who they were. So yeah. Yeah. So no, what she says is that about Black women holding it down in relationships, that's not true at all. But let's continue.
What she actually means by holding our weight is surviving, meaning I don't need you, I want you. So if anything happens, I'm holding my own weight, I can take care of myself, and you're just here because I want you for the time being and how I feel right now, which offers nothing to a man. He cannot benefit from that whatsoever. So that's why men can go overseas and get with other women, and it's not as difficult as you may think it is. It may be difficult for you to get up and go to another culture and them accept you, but for men, we don't have that problem.
Is being Build-A-Bears. Also, nobody's begging you to do anything. You just seem like you don't like Black women. Sorry, that's the vibe I get.
Shut. Well, you know, when it comes down to it, I like Black women from different places. Like, I like Black women from my own country. You know, I like Black women from surrounding countries. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. The Black women who have decided not to embark upon this self-destructive path of Caribbean origin, and also of, I want to say, also of uh of like Afro-Latin origin. Yeah, no issues with them, none at all, as long as they haven't like embrace their embrace the side of the coin that's all bad. You know what I mean? Like, as long as they haven't done that, then I have no issue with them. But American Black women, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. No, I'm gonna just be completely honest. Completely honest. And yes, I'm trying to watch my words. It is Ramadan. You know, it is Ramadan. Uh But no, I really don't care for Black American women. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't care for them. That's just my completely honest opinion. You know, no, I don't care for them. But let's continue.
Up. No, he doesn't dislike black women. He dislikes popcorn bags on their head, have little to no respect for men, question everything, the man's authority and decisions, and don't use proper common sense to understand why men are leaving the West when you don't offer them anything that they're asking for. Men are asking for grade A beef, and you're giving him and serving him a fish sandwich. He didn't want that. He wanted the beef. Stupid. And since these females do not get it, go overseas and go deal with those females and go explore your options. Obviously, go over there using your RP, be respectful of the land that you're in, be vigilant, be safe. And if you can, take somebody with you that's going to hold you down and hold your back just in case you need help or anything, or you get into any type of a snag. So get your passport. I noticed that a lot of guys in the comment section are saying, I just got my passport in the mail. I just filled out the paperwork. I already planned my trip right now. I commend you guys. Go over there and just go see the difference. It's going to be like a breath of fresh air, man. No popcorn bags, no sandwich wraps, no mastodons, no leftovers, no flick me's, no dodge me's, just pure femininity. And you'll be able to notice if it's real or if it's a chameleon by the way it comes to you, because you're men, you guys have your senses. You can tell the difference. So you already know what it is, man. Leftovers and backheads down, bounty villains up. Let's get it. Let's go. We on the road to 20K and beyond. Make sure you guys like the video.
So what I want to say too is that men in essence, like it we're like, if you occupy like the Muslim space, you're not leaving. You're not leaving just because of like the 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 horrible things that has to do with like women here. You're leaving out the horrible things because of the generation of what's to come as well, because of the simple fact that, you know, as sad as it is to say, uh most of the men were raised by these women. So of course that next generation is not going to really be conducive to your your you know your thing, you know. So that's the thing. That's what we're dealing with. And let's be honest, let's ask this question too. Do black women really like black men here? That's the real question that should be asked. Let me see. I'm just reading a couple of comments that I left on Easy. He's another content creator as well. You know, one thing I want to say too is that one thing I want to say as well is that in addition to like men, in addition to men becoming uh men becoming like the enemies of these modern women, other women become the enemies of these modern women too, because of the simple fact that they have taken it upon themselves to insult women's from these other countries. You know what I mean? Like they've decided that they wanted to insult women from these other countries, you know. uh that's the thing. So now they have two enemies. Number one is us, that they have decided to make enemies, and then number two is the women in the other countries who they're now at odds with now, you know. That's the thing.
In a Muslim religion, as much as people in America want to make it's a very peaceful thing. You've heard Bill Maher say this before, where Bill says most Muslims are not terrorists. But Bill Maher also says most terrorists are Muslims, right? Well, he's not wrong.
Not only is this factually incorrect, because in 2016, Obama dropped 3 bombs every hour. Naveed Sheikh reports from 0 to 2008, Christianity has resulted in 178 million deaths and Muslims only 31 million. William Bloom has said that America has invaded 50 countries since World War II. So stop with the lecture, mate. No.
So I want to say that too, that like one thing that Americans will come at me on my TikTok and stuff like that about Islam is that they never like, and this goes to show you how deep the rabbit hole goes when it comes to American men, especially. American men especially don't like to take accountability either for what has caused the animosity from these other places against them. For example, when you look at Afghanistan and things like that, uh they didn't help Afghanistan. If anything, well, I guess they helped self-realize Afghanistan, because none of their goals were accomplished in Afghanistan. And when you look at it, Afghanistan historically has not attacked America. Iraq has historically not attacked America. Even Russia has historically not attacked America. Even China has historically not attacked America. But America is so hell bent on attacking these places and will make Americans think that they're in the right for doing it, but really morally they're in no place to even speak about these different places and what they do over there.
Not only is that sort of rhetoric wrong, but it's dangerous and irresponsible because of what we're seeing vigilante people doing worldwide. In Dover, New Zealand, and in other countries as well. State Islamophobia is also in the rise in India, in France, and in China.
In a Muslim religion, as much as people in America want to make it
The City Girls JT and Young Miami, they've been running around on the 304 rap circuit for a couple of years now, bubbling in Miami for a while and then being solidified and pushed to another level when Drake gave them a line or two on his hit single In My Feelings back in 2018. Then when City Girl JT was locked up in the feds, it was Young Miami, who was way less talented than JT, by the way. I'm talking about her rapping ability. It was Young Miami who continued to carry the duo during that time when JT was locked up for scamming. With some assistance from fellow 304 rapper Cardi B and having proximity to popular male rappers.
And the reason why I show this is because these, like, despite no matter what the age is, these are the like the people that women look towards. You know what I mean? This is like what like this is like what your typical average woman looks towards as a role model, you know, and this also includes the Muslim ones too. So when this is being done, you know, you kind of have to ask yourself, okay, well, what is there really to choose? You know what I mean? Like, what's there really to choose from? You know? That's the thing. Well, let's continue.
The fans of this duo stayed locked in. Well, the two women released a snippet of their new song that they're trying to promote as a summer smash, and let's just say their target female market seemed to be rejecting it, saying they're tired of them rapping about the same thing, and they're just not feeling it, which made me wonder, is the City Girl era over?
No, it isn't. Like, I hate to say it, but it's not going to be over. You know, it's too profited. It's too profitable for it to be over. So no, it's not going to be over. You know, I'm just going to be honest. It's not. It's not going to be over. You know. Okay. So I think I want to wrap up now. I think I've exhausted everything that, but hey, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll be back on here tonight, you know, after breaking fast and stuff. Maybe I'll be back on here tonight. But I think, you know, we've covered pretty much everything I need to cover. And so you know, reminder to ourselves, let's just reset this Ramadan, and let's just realize that this is the perfect opportunity to pretty much speed up. This is pretty much the perfect opportunity to speed up our migration. So I'm gonna actually play 2 more videos and then I'll end it. Shout outs to Your Average at Best. He always comes with some good receipts.
Off his dick. I had sex with my new nigga, and I made my ex-boyfriend lick his cum off my dick.
What did you say?
I made my ex-nigga lick his cum off my dick. Off his dick. It's mine now, but it's his. I suck dick from the back. So hit me up. How does that go? How does that go?
So when you see like kind of like when you see these kind of things and stuff like that, you kind of understand like, okay, well, there's really nothing left to choose from at this time, you know. So yeah, just act accordingly.
What the fuck is you talking about, man?
I'm scared.
I suck dick real good, right? So I pick up the balls and I lick them and I lick the gooch and I put my face in it and then I gargle the balls in my throat like that.
Oh.
And then I fucked in the woods and I also fucked on the bus stop. Real good, amazing.
You came.
Nigga, what? Waterworks, cream pie. You feel me? Slitter bomb. Cause I'm tight too, just like a baby. Premature. You feel me?
And these are the 304 sand roaches, whole creek deer, that will tell you have to take them on a first date.
Yes. Now I want you to keep that in mind too, that when you're dealing with these women, if they don't view you as the select male, they're going to make you jump through hoops just to get a look in. You know, that's how it works, right?
And spend $300 to $400 to $500. These are the same filth that will tell you have to cash app them the same day you meet them for their time. They didn't do nothing. They didn't give you none of that backwards head, that gawk where she lift the balls and put her face in the gooch. These filths are allowed to come on the internet and say anything, bro. That's why shout out to the manosphere, because it gets a bad rap and think it's just about men talking about women. No, it's learning how you women really are. It's like locker room talk with the boys, man cave, that y'all never really got to hear, the talk that went on in the barbershop. But now we get to hear women saying the same shit. And it comes to find out they're worse than us. Yes, they're more vulgar and worse than us. Shall we continue?
I'd have gotten strep 5 times from licking my own poop off of people.
Oh God. Oh man. Oh. Oh. Oh God. Oh man.
Shall we continue?
I'd have gotten strep 5 times from licking my own poop off of people. I'm telling you, I have no boundaries.
I was about to say, like, you wouldn't do that. you were wrong. Is that on OnlyFans? I mean, I don't want to see like marketing. Yeah.
No, it used to be, but it's not even allowed on there. Anything like messy isn't allowed on there. That stuff's off camera.
What did I tell y'all? I told y'all they done caught up and surpassed us in 3 years because of the manosphere. We are now getting to hear the dirtiest, the darkest bathroom talk. Y'all know when all the girls go into the bathroom with each other and we couldn't go in there, so we didn't get to hear what they said. Now we are actually getting to hear what they say, and it's worse than us, my nigga. Yeah, filthy. This is why when you see them little street interviews and the little drunk girl come up on the dudes and they be wanting to kiss or in the club, y'all don't want to do that. Y'all heard what she just said. She just probably had a whole beef sausage in her mouth with nougat on it. Yeah, a whole Snickers of her own. Yeah. So if a girl come up to you wanting to kiss you, bro, just because she's pretty, pump the brakes on her. She may give you some type of weird sore around your mouth that you just cannot get rid of. And until further, yeah.
Okay, let me see. One more video.
Racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same. I hate when people talk about Black women being obese. I hate it. We are living in the Trump era.
So yeah, yeah, this is where we are. This is where we are in this situation. I really can't say anything about it, you know. Yeah, I don't really know how to respond to that. I really don't know how to respond. Yeah. I'll just stay quiet, however.
A Black woman blames racism and white women for her being fat. Really? The ridiculousness never ends. Stay tuned to see who gets this week's Stomp Award. Coming up next. Overweight, 80%. That's a lot. But instead of taking accountability for yourselves, why are you blaming others for your overweightness? Why are you blaming others for your obesity? Now, here you have this woman who's saying that white women are the blame and racism is the blame for her overweightness, for her being obese. The thing is, why don't you take accountability for yourself? Even if white women are contributing to your obesity, there's things you can do to help yourself. Let's roll this clip.
So I want to add to that, right? I will mention that, it's because of feminism we're in the situation we're in right now. I'll mention that, right? I will mention I will mention that kind of thing, right? I'll mention it. Okay? But the thing that you can do about it, and that many guys have decided that they were going to work towards doing, is that they decided they were going to exit. They decided that it's time to exit, forget about it. It's not going to be good for them in the long run. So, forget it. We're not going to blame. It does no point just to blame feminism or whatever for the our plight. We know what the problem is. We're simply going to exit the problem. That's how we view it. Yeah.
Racism that you're experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you. When people talk about Black women being obese, I hate it. We are living in the Trump era. Black women, when we do the same diets as white women, we lose less weight and we lose it slower. The racism that you're experiencing.
So why don't you just change your diet then? Usually if something is not working, you change it so it can work. Right? Why don't you just do that? It's pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple to do. It's pretty simple, but let's continue.
Experiencing and the struggle to make ends meet actually means the diet don't work for you the same.
Now she's saying that white women and Black women do the same workout, but for some reason, because you are Black, your workout doesn't seem the same. Because you are Black, you can't lose the weight. Maybe if you stop eating, and maybe another solution, stop sitting on your fat ass and get out and walk, run, jog, crawl, do something. Now she's going all the way to left field. Now she's saying that the reason why she's fat is because of Donald Trump. We are living in the Trump era. So just because, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but just because we're living in the Trump era, you are fat. Now she's bringing politics into it. Notice how she's bringing all these external environmental factors on her fatness, on her obese, her being obese. But one thing she's not blaming herself. She's blaming other people because she's fat. Now, don't get me wrong. I mentioned this many times before. We as Black people, we do go through a little bit more than the average white person. We go through a little bit more stresses than the average white person. And I get it. But the thing is, we have to stop blaming other people when we fall short. That will make us what? Thrive, survive, and go further. But blaming other people is not going to solve the issue. Look at her. She's still fat. She's still overweight. But if you stop eating and if you start looking at foods that are better for you, instead of eating cake and cookies, fried chicken, stop going to these church picnics when all they do is eating stuff that is fattening, high cholesterol, increasing your risk of diabetes, increasing your risk of high blood pressure. Instead of eating these foods, won't you start eating things that are healthy? Now, another thing you mentioned, always put the blame that will way overweight, 250, 350 pounds. Listeners, you're not going to see and get yourself a passport. Start filling out that application because this ridiculousness, you're not going to see in other countries the way you see here.
So I'm going to end this stream. You know, it's been going on long enough. To everybody who attended, thank you very much. And, you know, maybe I'll be back tomorrow night, or maybe I'll be back like tomorrow morning, inshallah, around the same time. But let's just get right this Ramadan. Let's just really get ourselves right this Ramadan, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Mjarama, and SYSMB. Say yourself, Muslim brother.